Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome. Thank you so much for joining us today for the Building Bridges Community Launch Event. Merci de vous joindre à nous aujourd'hui pour l'événement de lancement de la communauté de pratique sur l'IA pour les océans Building Bridges. We have people from all across Canada. Thank you for sharing your location in the chat. We've seen people from Halifax, St. John's. I've seen some people, I believe, in Ontario as well. On a des gens également de la ville de Québec, de Montréal, de Rimouski. Merci beaucoup de vous joindre à nous. We are truly excited to gather with partners, leaders, organizations, and community members from across our region to officially launch this important initiative together. My name is Anthony Hazard, and I'll have the pleasure of serving you as your MC today. For those I haven't had a chance to meet, I'm the founder of Audacia Communication, a strategic communications and public relations firm based in New Brunswick. Over the past several years, I've had the opportunity to work alongside organizations, institutions, and community leaders on initiatives focused on collaboration, community development, inclusion, and engagement. What makes today especially meaningful is that building bridges is exactly the kind of initiative our communities need right now. It is about creating connections, strengthening dialogue, fostering understanding, and ensuring that people feel supported, welcomed, and empowered to contribute meaningfully to the communities we all share. Today is not only a launch, it is the beginning of conversations, partnerships, and action that we hope will create lasting impact across our region. We have a wonderful program ahead of us today, and we are grateful to each and every single one of you for taking the time to be part of it. So once again, welcome. Thank you for being here, and let's get started. I would like to begin our time together by acknowledging and respecting the First Nations, Métis, and Inuit peoples on whose traditional territories CIOOS work is conducted across Canada. We strive for respectful relationships with all Indigenous peoples as we search for collective healing through reconciliation and honoring these beautiful lands and seas together. Before we get started, I have a few housekeeping items to highlight. So we will be monitoring both the Q&A and chat throughout this session. Please use the Q&A to submit and upvote questions for our speakers. And feel free to use the chat to connect with fellow attendees. You may find the Q&A or the chat button at the bottom of your screen, or you may need to do an extra step depending on your Zoom version. You may need to click more and then select the Q&A section to get to this section. For the best experience, we recommend joining through a web browser today. If you're using the Zoom app, you may need to update to the latest version to access the Q&A feature. Cet atelier se déroulera en anglais, pardon. Évidemment. Donc, cet atelier aujourd'hui se déroulera en anglais. Zoom propose des sous-titres en direct et des fonctions de traduction automatique que vous pouvez activer dans votre panneau de configuration et régler selon la langue de votre choix. Pour accéder à ces fonctionnalités, cliquez sur la deuxième icône à partir de la droite dans la barre d'outils de Zoom, sélectionnez Afficher les sous-titres et assurez-vous que l'option Traduction est activée. Ensuite, réglez les paramètres, langue de la conversation et langue des sous-titres sur la langue de votre choix. Please note that this session is being recorded and will be shared on our website and social media channels as a public resource. If you have any questions or experience any technical issues today, please reach out in the chat or email us at info@cioosatlantic.ca. With that out of the way, all the housekeeping notes has been done. We are so excited to have such a dynamic and diverse group joining us today, representing nonprofits, academia, government, and industry from across Canada and beyond. Building Bridges is, in brief, a Canada-wide initiative focused on increasing the adoption of AI in the ocean sector, And we're doing this by helping organizations better understand and apply AI to ocean data challenges. At the center of that work is our new community of practice, a free online space built to connect people, build skills, and share resources for real world AI applications. Today, we're all about connection, exploration, and momentum. We've brought together an incredible lineup of speakers who are pushing the boundaries of AI and on how AI is being applied across the ocean sector, from national strategy and data governance to conservation and real world implementation. Whether you're just starting to explore AI or already working in this space, there's something here for everyone. We'll kick things off with an opening keynote from Dr. Elissa Strome, who will walk us through Canada's AI strategy and how it has evolved from research into real impact. From there, Dr. Schallum Pierre will dive into the growing importance of environmental data, exploring the intersection of AI, open data governance, and emerging threats. We'll then hear from Shayla Fitzsimmons, who will introduce the Building Bridges community and share how it's designed to support ongoing collaboration, learning, and innovation across the sector. Midway through the session, we'll shift gears into a short interactive activity. This is your chance to explore the platform, connect with others, and get hands-on with what the community has to offer. And yes, there are prizes for our winners today, but to be eligible to win, you'll need to be a community member. Sign up at the link in the chat. It's quick and easy to do, and it only takes a few minutes. After that, we'll head into a short break and then return for our second keynote with Dr. Lubna Benabou. Dr. Benabou will highlight how machine learning is being used to improve efficiency and reduce environmental impact in maritime systems. We'll also hear from Beth Pike and Nikki Arasta on scaling marine conservation efforts. Ted Schmidt on delivering AI tools for real-world impact, and a recorded presentation from Diego Padilla on practical approaches to accelerating AI adoption in conservation work. Panier Cornejo will still be joining us live to answer questions and offer additional insights following the presentation. And as a reminder, throughout the event, feel free to ask any questions you might have in mind in the Q&A section. Upvote your favorites from your other colleagues from across Canada and engage in the chat with your fellow attendees and take full advantage of the opportunity to connect with each other. We're really glad you're here, and we hope today sparks new ideas, new connections, and maybe even a few future collaborations. Without further ado, let's get started. For our opening keynote, I'm thrilled to announce Dr. Elissa Strome. Dr. Strome is the Executive Director of the Pan-Canadian Artificial Intelligence Strategy at CIFAR, where she works closely with leaders at Canada's 3 national AI institutes, AMI, Mila, and the Vector Institute, to advance the country's leadership in AI research, training, and innovation. She is a recognized leader in the field, serving on the federal government's AI Advisory Council, as well as international bodies, including the OECD's network of experts on AI. Her work spans research, policy, and innovation, and she is a strong advocate for equity, diversity, and inclusion in STEM. Dr. Strome began her career in neuroscience, earning her PhD from the University of British Columbia, before transitioning into research, strategy, and leadership, where she has played a key role in shaping major national and institutional initiatives. Today, she'll be sharing insights on Canada's AI strategy and how it has evolved from research into real-world impact. And now, I'm pleased to turn the mic over to Dr. Elissa Strome.
Thanks so much, Anthony. Good afternoon, good morning, everyone. Bonjour à toutes et à tous. C'est un grand plaisir d'être ici avec vous aujourd'hui. Next slide, please. We'll jump right into slide number 2 of my deck. Would be great. Go ahead to the next one. So I often say that I have the best job in Canada. I am the executive director of the Pan-Canadian AI strategy at CIFAR, which means that I work with our 3 national AI institutes, researchers and leaders all across the country to deliver on Canada's research leadership in AI. And it has been an incredible ride over the last 8.5 years that I have been doing this work, and really thinking about how can we take the foundational strengths that we have in research in AI in Canada and now really mobilize and leverage them to be able to deliver positive impact for society, for the economy, and for the environment as well too. So I'm just going to take you back a little bit and tell you the story of AI in Canada, because a lot of people don't know the story, but it's true that Canada is a world leader in artificial intelligence. And in fact, we have been working in this space for more than 40 years. And so where did it all begin? Well, CIFAR is the organization that I work for. It's the Canadian Institute for Advanced Research. We are a Canadian-based global research organization. Our mandate is to bring together researchers across disciplines, across countries, to tackle hard questions facing science and society. And we do that by building long-term interdisciplinary research networks. So today at CIFAR, we have more than a dozen different research networks working in all areas of science and the social sciences, everything from cosmology to the neuroscience of consciousness, understanding the fungal kingdom, understanding the impact of human migration on people and the planet. But what a lot of people don't know about CIFAR is that the very first research program that we launched in 1983 was called Artificial Intelligence, Robotics, and Society. So this is a space where we have been helping to build great expertise in AI in Canada, training the next generation, connecting Canadian researchers to each other and to their colleagues around the world for a very long time. So in Canada, we have been building up our strength and our capacity and our excellence in AI research for decades. And a lot of that work really begins with these 3 gentlemen. We have been incredibly privileged to have these groundbreaking researchers immigrate to Canada and choose Canada as their home to advance their research in artificial intelligence. On the left, we have Professor Rich Sutton. Rich is based at the University of Alberta. He is really the person who created the field. He literally wrote the textbook on the area of artificial intelligence called reinforcement learning. We'll get into RL a little bit later on, but it really is an incredible approach to artificial intelligence that's used in robotics. It's used very extensively in LLMs, and it really leverages psychological and cognitive concepts about, rewarding agents in the case of computers, or people, or mice and rats in the case of psychology experiments, rewarding good behaviors that you're looking for and not rewarding those other ones. So RL is a major computational approach to AI, really developed in Canada by Canadians. Yoshua Bengio probably needs no introduction. Yoshua is based at the University of Montreal. He was the founding scientific director of MILA. He's been affiliated with CIFAR for well more than 20 years. He has really laid the groundwork for much of the development of the field of deep learning, but he's also an expert in reinforcement learning. And over the last few years, Yoshua has used his expertise, his platform, his connections, his influence to really help us to understand what are the risks of advanced AI systems. So he is a global leader in understanding the risks of the most advanced, most capable AI systems. He's on many international panels. He himself chairs the International AI Safety Report. He's on the UN panel on AI safety and on many Canadian and international bodies. Yoshua has the distinction of being the world's most cited scientist. So again, how proud can we be in Canada to have one of our own computer scientists named as the most cited scientist in the world right now? Jeffrey Hinton. Also, another name you probably know in 2024, Jeff won the Nobel Prize, but he had many prizes and accolades before that. He really is the person who had the initial concept and idea for the approach to machine learning that we call deep learning. He and Joshua, Jan LeCun, and others actually came together through a CIFAR program to develop the concept of deep learning. And so Jeff has been an influential leader in the field again for decades. He was the founding scientific director of the Vector Institute. And Jeff has the distinction of being the world's second most cited scientist. So these are the people who really led the establishment of the field of machine learning at their respective universities, allowed a generation of graduate students to be trained in this field, and attracted a critical mass of researchers working on these kinds of research questions at their universities. Next slide, please. And so because we had such an incredible foundation of AI research in Canada, we knew that we had something special. And in 2017, the Government of Canada came to CIFAR and asked us to help them to develop a national strategy for AI research, and particularly around talent. What we were seeing at that time was that we were training all these amazing graduate students. We had many faculty working in the space, but those graduates in particular were being recruited overseas. They were taking up jobs in academia and in industry outside of Canada. So the Pan-Canadian AI strategy was launched in March of 2017. It was the world's first national AI strategy, and it was really designed to focus on, again, sort of cementing Canada's leadership in AI research and retaining great talent here in Canada. So that was the first phase of the strategy, led by CIFAR in very, very close collaboration with the three national AI institutes, Amy in Edmonton, Mila in Montreal, Vector Institute here in Toronto, where I am. And together, the four partners work very, very closely. So CIFAR and the three AI institutes, we're a strong partnership, a collaboration all across the country, working together to advance Canada's leadership in AI research, innovation, and training. And it's a very strong and healthy collaboration. In 2021, we actually had a renewal of our investment in AI research talent, but also new investments in the area of commercialization. So we considered that to be phase two, and really starting to think about going beyond research and applying AI to areas that mattered. In 2024, the federal government invested $2.4 billion in AI, primarily focused on computing, allowing us to catch up on some of our computing infrastructure where we had been falling behind, and recognizing that researchers, SMEs, governments, companies really need the opportunity to have computing infrastructure in order to be able to leverage this technology successfully. And there were additional elements to that 2024 investment, including investments in adoption and in AI safety. And I'll talk more about that as we continue. So this is the history of the Pan-Canadian AI strategy. And right now, over the last 6 months, a new national AI strategy has been in development. About a year ago, Prime Minister Carney named the Honourable Evan Solomon as Canada's Minister for AI and Digital Innovation, one of the first countries in the world to have a dedicated minister for AI. And Minister Solomon and his team began work very quickly to start to develop a much more comprehensive and integrated and coordinated national AI strategy with input from experts across many sectors all across the country. And that strategy is anticipated any day now. So we're really looking forward to seeing the vision for Canada going forward. Next slide, please. A little bit about our focus on research and our strength in research in Canada. Keep going. The hallmark program of the Pan-Canadian AI strategy is the Canada CIFAR AI Chairs program. This is a program that we run at CIFAR. It's in partnership with universities across the country and those AI institutes. And what it does is provides long-term stable funding to some of the best researchers that we have in Canada in AI. It allowed us in the very beginning to recruit researchers from all around the world to come to Canada and to keep the great researchers that we have here. And so this is just a quick montage really of some of the people that are part of the program. We now have 140 researchers, faculty members all across the country who are members of this program. We fund them for 5 years at a time. We have an international expert review panel that reviews all of their nominations. And at CIFAR, we really convene this community of researchers together. We coordinate some of the work that they do. We foster collaboration between researchers across the country working on similar or even quite dissimilar areas of research, bringing them together to have really innovative collaborations, but really supporting the research, supporting the students, and really advancing both fundamental AI science, but also its applications in areas that matter to society. So we're really proud of this community of research that we've built. Objectively, they are now the third highest impact research cluster in AI in the world. And so we have done a bibliometric analysis on this group of researchers and found that their research impact is absolutely incredible, only behind Google and the Max Planck Institute. So we really do have something special in Canada, and this is the foundation of all of Canada's AI ecosystem. Next slide, please. Very briefly, a little bit about the three AI institutes. They are each independent, not-for-profit research institutes. They are the central hubs of their respective AI ecosystems, and they really respond to their regional economy, their provincial objectives. What's the industry like there? What's the research ecosystem like there? And really support and advance research, innovation, and training on AI. They're all distinct, which is really, really interesting. They have different areas of focus, but a few things in common, of course. Research as the core of what they do. I mentioned reinforcement learning as the major strength at Amy. They use that to apply it to robotics, to healthcare, to other applications. And they also have strengths in responsible AI privacy, natural language processing. Each of the institutes also partners very closely with different universities in their region. And so you can see I've got Amy partners with U of A, and in British Columbia, UBC and Simon Fraser University. Mila is the Quebec AI Institute. It really supports AI research, innovation, and training across the entire province of Quebec. Very, very well known for their development and application in the field of deep learning, but also reinforcement learning. Great strengths in natural language processing, AI for health, and a real strategic focus on AI for humanity, responsible AI policy, AI safety, as I mentioned earlier, and including understanding AI's opportunity to both mitigate and contribute to climate change. Vector Institute in Toronto really focuses on deep learning, NLP, AI for health, applied AI. So they work with many, many industry partners across all kinds of different sectors, particularly Canada's biggest companies, and helping them to adopt AI within their business practices. And Vector partners with universities across the country. So U of T as a primary partner, University of Waterloo, but also UBC and Dalhousie from coast to coast. So there's just a snapshot of the AI institutes and the chairs program. Next slide, please. Keep going. So I've talked a lot about research and research as a strength. Having all of these professors in the universities means that they're training hundreds of graduate students. More than 250 graduate students graduate every year from our Canada CIFAR AI Chairs program. So this is creating a huge critical mass of talent in Canada. And those students are going on to take on additional training and academic roles, but also working in industry, government, and the not-for-profit space. In North America, Canada has actually some of the largest tech talent pools. So we have lots of people working in this space in Canada, and growth in tech talent has been stronger in Canada than it has been in the US. We are fifth in the world for the number of AI professionals. So this is an area where there are lots of jobs being created. There's a high demand for talented individuals, and it's a big part of our goal is to keep these people here in Canada. Next slide. And skip ahead to adoption. So this is now a major area of focus of transitioning our great strengths in research, the talent that we're training, into now thinking about how can businesses, governments, not-for-profit, and other organizations think about adopting AI to support the advancement of their goals, of their objectives. We have some great leaders in AI adoption in Canada. I would say the financial sector is at the top of that list. Canada's banks have been leading in the space and investing in AI for many years. They each have dedicated AI research teams within the banks. Same thing with the insurance companies. Canada's insurance companies are really at the forefront of innovating and adopting AI to help support their customers and their businesses. We're seeing, of course, with the advent of large language models, frontier models, LLMs, that Canadian workers are adopting AI very actively. We were a little slow to get started, I would say, but now the tools are so ubiquitous, so available. There's a big push by many companies and governments to be adopting AI. We're starting to see Canadians embracing this technology. And that rate is growing quickly. Next slide, please. Go ahead too, and I'll keep skipping. One of our great strengths in Canada is our innovation ecosystem in AI. And so AI startups have been one of the areas that we've been very successful in. We have a very high volume of high impact AI startups in Canada. Anybody can launch a startup, whether or not it's going to make a difference is where it matters, right? And so we are, I think, fifth in the world for the number of high impact AI startups, which is pretty good because we're a small country with a resource-based economy traditionally. So it's great to have innovation and technology as a great strength. We see incredible investment from venture capital into Canadian AI startups. $5.6 billion was invested last year in Canadian AI startups. 40% of all venture capital investment was made in AI. So it's a very significant part of Canada's innovation ecosystem. And we have great strengths in generative AI in particular. So many of you know of Cohere as sort of our one of our AI champions in Canada, but we have many other companies that are focused on generative AI, either using it for different applications, whether it's video, images, text, but also managing the risks and being able to, for instance, identify generated content as one of our strengths as well. We have Canadian AI startups that also appear on the 100 most promising AI startups around the world. Next slide, please, and go ahead too. AI safety. So this has been a major area of focus and research for us at CIFAR now for the last few years. It's a place where Canada is an exceptional leader in the world. And I mentioned Joshua. Jeff Hinton was also instrumental in helping us as a research ecosystem and as a society to understand that there are very significant risks associated with the most advanced AI systems, and that as these systems become even more capable, even more powerful, those risks are increasing. And so Canada's been able to leverage our research strengths across the country to be able to contribute to understanding and mitigating those risks associated with advanced AI. Joshua has been a great leader. I mentioned the AI safety report. Canada has been contributing a lot of leadership on the international stage in AI safety. And in 2024, the Government of Canada launched the Canadian AI Safety Institute. So this is a collaboration between ISED, that's the Department of Innovation, Science and Economic Development within the federal government, ISED, the National Research Council, and CIFAR to really bring together strengths and expertise on AI to answer some of these questions about where is it creating risks and how can we mitigate them. And it's allowing us to understand some of those critical concerns and how to manage them. Next slide. At CIFAR, we run the research program under the Canadian AI Safety Institute. And so this allows us to mobilize all of those researchers that we have across the country and focus them and their students on understanding AI safety. So far, we built a community that's now well over 60 or 70 researchers working in this space. We have actually now 22 research projects around AI safety and have invested millions of dollars of funding from the Government of Canada on AI safety. Go ahead, next slide. And so, I've talked a lot about some of the great strengths in Canada, how we are mobilizing research to have impact. positive impact on AI safety, innovation, launching startup companies, thinking about the application of AI in areas that matter, like healthcare, education, transportation. But we still have a lot of work to do, right? This is an incredibly competitive field. And the potential for AI is huge. And all of you know that you're working on adopting AI within the ocean space. And so there are places where Canada really needs to think strategically and effectively. One that we've been criticized for is AI commercialization, that we have been slow to build AI companies, that we have been slow to sell products and services that are based on AI, that we've been slow to patent in AI. Some of that is fair for sure, but some of it is also a misunderstanding of how AI works. So, for instance, a lot of research in AI is actually not patented. It is shared as open source science, open science. And that's part of the culture of computer science and part of the culture of AI research in general. So patents aren't really the best indicator of where the value in our AI ecosystem lies. So that's a bit of a misunderstanding there. And of course, I've talked about the fact that we have lots of AI companies, many, 450, 500 AI-based startups that have so much potential. But the challenge that those startups face is actually scaling up and being able to access international markets on AI. And that's where it's incredibly competitive and where we need policies and investments to be able to help them. We need things like business expertise for our companies, venture capital, always the essential resources for any company that wants to grow. They also need domestic customers, right? So Canadian-based AI startups should be able to find customers here in Canada first before they try to sell overseas. Next couple of slides, please. Other areas that are challenges for Canada. One is trust. You've probably seen that Canadians have a very low level of trust in AI, and it's understandable to me. We hear a lot about the risks of AI. There's not a lot of opportunities for training and AI literacy. It's an area that we need to invest in. And there's not a lot of opportunities for Canadians to engage in the conversation around AI. So we haven't done a very good job of being inclusive in building the conversation around AI. So there's work to do there as well, too. Next slide. And that leads me to where I hope we're going with the new national AI strategy. Just last month, the government gave us a preview of what the pillars of the new AI strategy will be in their spring economic statement. 6 pillars, a real focus here on protecting Canadians, understanding those AI safety issues, empowering Canadians, driving forward with AI adoption, establishing the infrastructure, the resources necessary to have strong foundation of AI in Canada, scaling Canadian AI champions. I'm excited about that one, considering what I've just been talking about, and building trusted partnerships and global alliances. And I do think that international collaboration is going to be essential for our success going forward. So we expect the new national AI strategy in the coming weeks or months, and that it will provide us with a lot of direction and guidance on how all of us can actually support Canada's vision for AI adoption across all the sectors that we work in, and provide those kinds of resources, policy mechanisms, et cetera, that will drive Canada's AI ecosystem forward. Next slide. I'm going to be leaving time at the end for questions. I know questions are starting to come up in the chat, in the Q&A. Please go ahead and start entering them in there, and we'll get to them really shortly. And of course, there's the opportunity to upvote the questions as well, too, if you see somebody's asked something that you're really interested in. So just as we think about, this wonderful foundation that we have in Canada, all of the years of investment, tremendous leadership in AI research and building these important scientific approaches to AI, now we really need to think about how do we leverage those strengths to create the kinds of social and economic benefit that AI really can deliver for Canadians. So we have many assets. We have research and talent as the foundation of our AI ecosystem. We have an incredible strong commitment to responsible AI, developing AI that's going to deliver benefits and not do harm as a core value. That core value really crosses academia, government, industry, and it's very unique in Canada that it is so deeply embedded in our AI ecosystem. We have so many opportunities for international partnership. We've heard Prime Minister Carney talk about the opportunity for middle powers to be working together, this concept of variable geometries, partnering with countries where your complementary strengths can actually work to both sides' advantage. I do see that as a huge opportunity for Canada in AI as well too. And of course, we have a rising sense of pride in Canada and national unity. And with such amazing strengths in AI, I think this is a great time to be advancing AI literacy, public engagement, and building trust in this space. Next slide, please. A couple of quick examples I wanted to leave you with. I know there's going to be some great speakers later on this afternoon, but I wanted to acknowledge that researchers in the CIFAR network, across the AI institutes and at startup companies across Canada are working on applications of AI, taking the most advanced science and applying them to the ocean sector. Here's an example from the Vector Institute and the University of Guelph that is using computer vision to be able to assess the state of invasive species in Canadian waterways. And of course, using computer vision approaches means that you can do it much more efficiently and effectively than if you were using a manual, non-computer-based approach. Next slide. Next example is around biodiversity and conservation efforts. This is a collaboration between Mila and the organization Voici, where they're again using computer vision-based approaches to monitor and to be able to track and protect fish species and understand, what the state of our fisheries and biomass in our oceans is. Another example on the next slide is a collaboration between MDA, Fisheries and Oceans Canada, sponsored by the Digital Supercluster. MDA, of course, is one of Canada's great space and robotics companies. They're using satellite imagery and AI applications to be able to detect vessels that are basically trying to cloak themselves, that are not broadcasting their position and fishing illegally. And so it's a way for Fisheries and Oceans to be able to track vessels that are trying to be in stealth mode, but also then be able to prosecute or prevent illegal fishing in Canadian waters. Next slide. Another example along the same lines, a startup company based out of Queen's University in Kingston called Strategic. They use atmospheric balloons and AI applications that are embedded directly in the computers on board the balloons to be able to use, again, computer vision approaches to respond to conditions in real time and be able to monitor the oceans and waterways below. So whether it's for search and rescue, it can be also for identifying vessels. They can be used in human smuggling operations as well too. Another great example of how AI is already being used in our oceans ecosystem. Last slide. So with that, I hope I've given you sort of a full preview of the AI ecosystem, the history of AI Canada, the many opportunities for the adoption of AI across sectors, across application areas. I do think that collaboration is at the heart of our success in this space. And certainly at CIFAR, one of the things that we're really concentrating on as we look towards the future is how can we foster more collaboration between the academic research community that we work with and those people that are working in sectors that have the opportunity to really benefit from AI, like all of you working in the ocean sector. So I look forward to staying in touch. You can find me on LinkedIn. Feel free to reach out to me by email if you have questions, if you want to connect with researchers in our network, if you want to learn more about CIFAR. I'm happy to answer questions offline. But right now, let's get to some questions online while we're here together. And Anthony, do you have any questions that have come up through the process?
Well, so far we are still awaiting your questions in the Q&A box that is available on the bottom bar of your Zoom. So you may click more, and after that, the Q&A little button, and you may submit your questions at any moment. You can also do so using the chat function at the bottom of the screen. But while we're waiting some of the questions, there's actually a striking statistic, and thank you for this great insight on the AI. I would say the AI level across Canada. And one of the most striking statistics that I did find in your presentation is that 92% of Canadians are not aware of any laws or regulations related to AI in Canada. Would you
Mhm.
believe this reflects a communication problem, a policy visibility? Is it more related to the reality that regulation itself are still very limited at this point, but they're still evolving at a faster rate than public understanding can keep up? How would you analyze this statistic?
Great. Thanks for the question. And Morgan, you can take down the slides now if you want so that we're got our heads a little bigger on the screens. There we are. So great question, Anthony. Thank you. And I think it's a question that lots of Canadians have, right? Like, are there laws in Canada around AI? How are
Mm,
Canadians being protected against these technologies that we're hearing so many of the risks about. So there are laws that protect Canadians, and those are laws in so many different sectors, right? So we have lots of laws in Canada around prevention of criminal activity or harmful activity under many sectors. So of course we have laws that affect how healthcare is delivered and how health is regulated in Canada. AI applications in health can sometimes fall under there. Same thing in the ocean sector, right? We have laws around how the ocean sector is regulated and managed. AI applications can fall under that financial regulation as well too. So it's not that we are without protection in our legal system in Canada. It is true that we don't have any AI specific laws right now in Canada. And that's something that the government is working very actively on right now. We did have legislation before Parliament in the last Parliament, but when it was prorogued, that legislation was lost. And so times have changed since then. AI is moving quickly. The government is working very hard right now to update our privacy legislation, which is one way that Canadians will be protected, but also to think about online harms. Another way, again, it's not directly legislating AI, but it is helping to mitigate some of the challenges that AI poses. And perhaps in the future, new AI legislation will come forward as well too. So it's a very active area of conversation, lots of work and legislation in the EU on this space. So we have jurisdictions that we can learn from for sure, but
mm.
work to be done for sure.
Very interesting. We do have a question from Francis Gosselin, who's asking, do you measure the impact? And if yes, how CIFAR, KC, has on AI safety for companies like OpenAI or Anthropic that commercialize products for Canadians, but are based outside Canada, perhaps in the US?
Right, exactly. Great question. And these two companies have been very much in the news lately because of specific incidents or AI tools, models that they have developed that are very, very, very powerful. So this is a great example where, companies that are operating in Canada have to follow the laws of Canada.
Mm,
And so companies that are operating in Canada are also accountable to the government of Canada. Where we see questions or concerns about either their policies and how they're working or the technologies that they're launching, the Canadian government is intervening. So Minister Solomon has recently met with the CEOs of both OpenAI and Anthropic. Some of the policies that those companies have or the technologies that those companies have are being evaluated by the Canadian AI Safety Institute to understand whether the companies themselves are taking enough approaches to be able to manage and mitigate the risks. So, although they're American companies, when they operate in Canada, they are accountable to our laws and our government.
thank you. Question from Alex Johnston. What are the biggest challenges to boosting AI literacy in Canada and the ocean sector? What strategies hold the most promise?
Great, really great question. There are many courses available free online. CIFAR has one called Destination AI ou Objectif IA en français. It's on
Mhm.
our website. I invite everybody to take a look at it. It's pretty intensive, though, I have to say. It takes about 6 hours to do this course. It's a very comprehensive review of AI, what it means, how it works in an accessible way. But it's work. And so you got to be highly motivated to take this course. I do invite you all to take a look at that. Many of my colleagues across the country are also working on AI literacy. So Amy in Edmonton is one of our great leaders in Canada for advancing AI literacy, and they've been working through the educational system. So they work with teachers, they work with students in K to 12 and high school and university and college students. And in fact, every student now at the University of Alberta must take an intro to AI course, no matter what field you're
Mm.
in. And so there's, ways that we're able to provide resources, provide training from some of the great experts that we have in Canada, but really also for the universities and the educational sector to adopt some policies that mandate education and training around AI. In this sector, in the ocean sector, again, I encourage you to take a look at some of those resources that are available. But also, think about coming together. We have this now beautiful community of practice through the CIOOS. Are there ways to have study groups, to have workshops, learning opportunities around AI literacy and training within CIOOS. And I'm happy to work with the organization to offer some suggestions on how to do that.
Mhm. And I strongly believe that every Canadian should take a course of some sort on the fundamentals of AI. I think that would be very beneficial for ourselves, but also the society because things are evolving so fast at this point, right? And I think we need to have those tools available, accessible publicly for everyone to make sure that we have the basis to understand those tools, but also how to use it. Which will lead actually to the next question regarding the ethical use of AI. So Dr. Dante Torrio is asking today, are there ethical policies or best practices of AI use for and with indigenous data?
Yeah, absolutely. There are. It's another actually training program that I wanted to point you to at CIFAR. We've been working with Indigenous leaders now for several years to identify best practices and opportunities to bring Indigenous perspectives into our AI practice. So we engaged an Indigenous educational firm to help us develop a course on Indigenous perspectives in AI. I'll put that one in the chat as well too, in just a second. But this is a program that we require all students that come through CIFAR's summer training programs to take, so that as developers of AI, they have a chance to understand and think about what are some perspectives that Indigenous communities might have as we are developing and deploying AI. So that's one perspective. My partners and I at the three AI institutes have been building a national community of leaders around Indigenous AI. So Mila in particular has a training program for Indigenous youth on AI, young people from all across the country coming to learn about AI, and a community really of leaders in this space. And we get together every summer. Um, there's also, of course, very strong principles around data governance and data sovereignty, like the OCAP principles that apply to Indigenous community data. And those also apply very much in the application of AI.
Interesting. A question that is grasping a lot of attention right now in the Q&A section, and I just as a reminder, people are still welcome to submit their questions through the Q&A chat box, or even using the chat box at the bottom of your Zoom screen. But it comes from Christopher Whidden. I hope that I pronounced this correctly. But it goes as follows. So in the context of the ocean sector, which is concentrated on the East and West Coast, can you please speak to CIFAR's strategy for AI research beyond the work currently done by the three AI institutes? Is there potential for support for institutions in Atlantic Canada from CIFAR, for example, or should there be more direct connections made between Atlantic universities and the AI institutes?
Yeah, I would actually say that it's the latter. That's probably our most effective approach to thinking about this question. Our AI talent and expertise is really concentrated at the three AI institutes. I work every day with our research community, and they are passionate about the idea of applying this technology that they've been developing to areas that matter for Canada. And so I think what we'll find is a huge interest of our researchers to want to work in the space that you all work in and to help understand and answer some of the questions that you have using AI. So, I'm happy to facilitate those conversations, those connections. We do have a community of researchers who do a lot of work on AI in the environment, AI and biodiversity, questions around climate change as well too. And so, if anybody's interested in learning more about that, you can contact me directly.
We have a very diverse group of people attending today's webinar. Over 100 actually was looking at the number of participants, which is an amazing turnout. And I believe we have a question coming from someone maybe in the private sector, uh, asking how can private sector connect with CIFAR?
That's great. As you've heard me talk about, we do a lot of our work with academic researchers, but we absolutely are interested in understanding the needs of the private sector and how we can support that kind of matchmaking function. And I think that's what we do best at CIFAR, right? So I have this community of research all across the country. My team and I understand what people's research interests and strengths are. We also know other companies across the country that are working on different applications of AI. And so we can really facilitate those connections and do some of that matchmaking. With respect to collaborative research between industry and academia, most of that work would happen really at the AI institutes or with the university where the professor is based. But if you're looking just for some ideas and some connections on who to connect, where the expertise might lie that you might be interested in, feel free to be in touch with me. At CIFAR, we also bring our industry partners in to support and participate in some of our AI training programs. So you can find out more about that on our website. And also in thinking about policy. So I'll often organize roundtable discussions on AI policy with different sectors, companies across the country to understand your needs around AI so that we can advise the government more effectively. So if I know about you, then I can keep you posted. We also have a newsletter that everybody should feel welcome to sign up for. It's called the AI Can Bulletin, and you can find that on our website.
Great invitation to follow what you've been doing and what the organization's been doing. So obviously we'll keep that in mind. We do have a few more minutes left for the Q&A part of this session. Feel free also to drop any other questions you might have for Dr. Elissa Strome. Just as a reminder, the Executive Director of the Pan-Canadian Artificial Intelligence Strategy at CIFAR. We'll dive into a little bit of the environmental perspective on AI. Questions that came along. What work is being done on green data centers? For example, air-cooled and or powered by renewable energies.
Great, excellent question. It's something that I think about a lot and worry about a lot. In Canada, we're fortunate that many of our provinces actually have a focus on renewable energies. Ontario, Quebec, BC all have very significant hydroelectric installations. And so that's one way to make sure that our data centers are using renewable energy. Air-cooled, water-cooled is another really important environmentally positive approach to managing data centers. So thinking about taking cold water from very deep lakes, oceans, and using that to cool the data centers, or locating data centers in very remote cold regions of the country where it actually does take less power to be able to cool them down. Those are all concepts that have been floated around. I think we're in the midst of a boom around data centers right now in Canada. There are publicly funded ones, there are privately funded ones. And I think these environmental considerations should be at the top of our mind for all of them. And then at CIFAR, I wanted just to mention that a lot of our research is looking at how do we develop AI models that are more energy efficient, right? So how do we develop small language models that are just as effective and powerful, but then don't use as much compute power, other resources to be able to build them. So that's another important approach as well.
Amazing. We'll take two other questions because I'm just looking at the time just to make sure that we are really focusing on making sure that we end on time today. A question that came from two different persons actually, and fairly interesting one. So with the global shift toward large language models, how do we ensure that Canada's historical strengths in reinforcement learning and deep learning remain a central part of our national commerce, our national strategy? There we go.
Yeah,
This could be better.
amazing. So a couple of things. Sorry, I just need one more minute, Jen. Sorry. And my room is in demand here, guys, so I'm going to have to wrap it up after this one.
Perfect.
So I should just clarify that large language models are actually built on deep learning and reinforcement learning. Those are the foundational technologies that underlie large language models. So our work in Canada has really led to that development of that technology. Many of the commercial applications right now of LLMs, the things that you can buy from Microsoft or OpenAI are really good for individual worker productivity. But I would say that reinforcement learning and deep learning remain essential approaches when we're thinking about, the kinds of questions that you guys might have in the ocean sector around understanding very, very large sets of data and being able to predict, what comes next or to be able to identify patterns.
Well, that has been a fairly interesting conversation today, Dr. Elissa Strome, Executive Director of the Pan-Canadian Artificial Intelligence Strategy at CIFAR. Thank you so much for your time today. I know you probably need to wrap this up. You're in high demand, I believe, but if you want to say just a few last words before leaving.
Just, I'm delighted to be part of this conversation today. Really thank you to the organizers for inviting me, and really do want to extend a warm invitation to everybody who's here who wants to learn more about what we do or how you can get involved to reach out to me by email or on LinkedIn. I might not answer you this week or next week, but I will answer you. Thank you.
Which is totally fair. Thank you so
Bye,
much,
everybody.
Dr. Elissa Strome. I was about to ask for a round of applause, but obviously in a webinar situation, that's hard to ask to the attendees, but I believe you're all watching from work or home and maybe clapping to Elissa's statement today and remarks. Thank you for your time with us today. Next up, I'm pleased to introduce our next speaker, Dr. Schallum Pierre. Dr. Pierre is a senior advisor in responsible AI, ethics, and innovation at the Institut d'Intelligence des Données at Université Laval. His work sits at the intersection of AI governance, data sovereignty, cybersecurity, and responsible innovation, with a particular focus on how AI systems are deployed and governed in complex, high-stakes environments. Today, Dr. Pierre will be sharing a thought-provoking perspective on environmental data as a geopolitical asset and what that means for organizations working in this space. And now I'm pleased to turn the mic over to Dr. Schallum Pierre.
Thank you. Could you please? Okay, thank you. Okay. Thank you for the invitation. And then today, my presentation will focus on geopolitical part, and then I will, in the 15 minutes, share my point of view about this kind of data that is very important for for us and then for the organization. So, a minute. Okay. So, in 1890, Alfred Mahon argued that whoever commanded the sea lanes commanded the conditions of global trade, security, and geopolitical dominance. And it is a thesis that reshaped naval strategy for over a century. Today, we can have a parallel logic can apply to data because whoever governs the flow of ocean and environmental data shapes what governments, communities, and markets can know, trust, and act upon. Next, please. Ocean data directly informs climate adaptation, marine conservation, and maritime security decisions, which means that when it is missing, corrupted, or contested, the consequences extend far beyond the scientific community. Environmental data is no longer today just scientific infrastructure. It is strategic knowledge infrastructure. And the organizations that steward it carry a responsibility that goes well beyond publication. Next, please. Today, AI amplifies the value of ocean data by turning fragmented observations into predictions at scale. But it equally amplifies what is at stake when that data is compromised, making quality and provenance strategically important, not just scientifically important. And at the same time, AI creates new dependencies on external platforms and proprietary models that organizations may not fully control. And the same AI that supports monitoring can also support manipulation. And this is what we see more and more. Next, please. Hybrid threats in this context are not about military conflict. They are coordinated efforts to undermine trust in environmental data, and the scientific institutions that produce it through manipulation, disinformation, infrastructure disruption, and the deliberate exploitation of monitoring gaps. In this case, your organization may not see itself as a security actor, but its data can become strategically relevant without its knowledge or consent. And that is precisely the gap that responsible governance must address. Next. Environmental data can be exploited through four distinct pathways. Gaps in monitoring coverage that create exploitable blind spots, noise from corrupted data sets that degrades model accuracy, narratives of manufactured scientific doubt, and dependencies on opaque systems that give external actors leverage over data on organization to take control. Each pathway requires a different governance response, which is why a single security measure is never sufficient. Next. The response to these risks is not to close data. Open data remains essential for science, collaboration, and democratic accountability. But to ensure that openness is governed, measuring that provenance is documented, access is traceable, and accountability is built on. Governance is not what does data. It is precisely what keeps data open, trusted, and resilient over time. Next. And data sovereignty is not simply a question of where data is stored. It is about who governs access, who ensures integrity, and who has the authority to act when data is compromised, including flow indigenous and community-based governance frameworks that go beyond national jurisdiction. The right questions for your organization is not only where your data lives, but under what conditions it flows, is shared, and can be trusted. Next. And the FAIR principles make data usable for science. The CARE principles make it legitimate for communities by centering indigenous data authority, contextual consent, and ethical use. And together, they form the foundation of responsible open data practice in ocean science. What we need to add is a third layer, what we can call secure by governance, which means building provenance, access controls, and resilience against manipulation directly into data management. Because FAIR makes data usable, CARE makes it legitimate, and governance is what makes it trustworthy. Next. Responsible AI for environmental organizations means more than choosing ethical models. It means documenting every AI tool's purpose and limitations, maintaining meaningful human oversight before consequential decisions, and systematically testing for adversarial vulnerabilities before and after deployment. The norm ISO EIC 42001 provides the management system standard that connects all these dimensions into a coherent governance life cycle, giving your organization a structure and auditable framework for responsible AI use. And this is a new standard that can help many organizations like yours to have a responsible management. Next. Most risks in ocean AI fall in the space between data governance, AI governance, and cybersecurity, where data governance asks whether data is reliable and appropriately shared. AI governance asks whether models are responsible and fit for purpose, and cybersecurity asks whether system can resist compromise and misuse. In ocean AI, these are no longer separate questions. Organizations need an integrated governance response that addresses all these three domains at the same time. Next. The new norm ISO 42001 provides a published management system for responsible AI. The NIST AI Risk Management Framework and the Canadian Centre for Cybersecurity's Top 10 AI Security Actions offer practical operational guidance. And there is a new norm, and currently in final approval, the ISO EIC 2790 will provide the most specific international guidance on AI cybersecurity threats. The fair and care principles complete the picture by anchoring data stewardship in both scientific openness and community legitimacy. And this is why it is important to know them, because that can help organization to secure more their asset. Next, please. We have here 5 concrete actions that define the governance playbook. Map your critical data assets and their strategic exposure. Classify them by regime: open for science, restricted for sensitive zones, strategic for infrastructure. Then govern access and provenance formally, monitor continuously for anomalies, misuse, and model drift. The 5th action is to collaborate with trust alliances like our community here and Canadian Center for Cybersecurity, or MILA, also, to share threats, intelligence, and set governance norms collectively, because no organization can build resilience alone. Before finishing, we can say you are not a security agency, and nothing in this presentation asks you to become one, but the data you steward, the knowledge you produce, and the trust you carry as scientific institutions are now part of a larger geopolitical picture that requires deliberate governance. Govern your openness, protect your trust, and build your resilience collectively. Because governing the data lens of ocean science is not a bureaucratic task. It is a strategic imperative. And to finish, next, please, we can say the future of ocean AI will not be determined only by better models, because we know the models we have today in AI, they are very, very good. So it will be determined by better governance of the data those models depend on. The ocean connects ecosystems, data connects decisions, governance connects trust. And that chain starts with the choices your organizations make today. Thank you. And I will be happy to continue this conversation with you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Pierre. Merci beaucoup pour cette présentation. We do have a few minutes for a few quick questions and answers. So we'll try to be very brief, but very interesting presentation today. We do have some questions in the Q&A chat box. You may feel free to actually ask those questions through the Q&A section, or even using the chat function. So we'll go right away. We do have a question coming in from Maxence Saint-Onge. Well, thanking you, first of all, for the presentation today. Very relevant. The question is there something missing in terms of governance or policy in Canada to ensure the safety and trust in AI?
I think today we have more and more discussion about that. And then we have the what we can say the ISO norm, but we need, I think we need a specific focus on this sector, this domain. And this is why I think what we do today is a good start, we can say, to mix together all the sector of no, standard, and then what we do, and then together we can have a specific what we can say governance for your sector. So I think we need to have one. Yeah.
Uh, Very interesting. And obviously, I like to say it's always baby steps, right? So we take baby steps in the approach, and after that, something more tangible comes out of this, of our collective intelligence. Dr. Pierre, this is all the time that we had for questions today. It went by so fast, although I believe you will remain in the webinar, so you may feel free to answer any questions that our attendees might have. But I believe also they can connect with you directly, I assume, by email, by LinkedIn.
Yeah, by email, and then yeah, by LinkedIn. So feel free to connect. Thank you.
Perfect. Amazing. Thank you so much, Dr. Pierre, Senior Advisor in Responsible AI, Ethics and Innovation at the Institut Intelligence et Données de l'Université Laval au Québec.
Merci beaucoup.
All right. Merci. All right, next up, I'm pleased to introduce Sheila Fitzsimmons. Sheila is the Executive Director of CIOOS Atlantic, where she leads regional efforts to make ocean data more accessible, interoperable, and impactful across Atlantic Canada. Through her work, she plays a key role in connecting data, technology, and community to support better decision-making across the ocean sector. She is also a leader in the Building Bridges project and its growing community, working to ensure that ocean AI tools and resources are accessible and practical for organizations across the sector. Today, Sheila will be sharing more about the Building Bridges community and how it's designed to support collaboration, learning, and long-term impact. Now I'm pleased to turn the mic over to Sheila Fitzsimmons.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Anthony. It's really a pleasure to be here today, and thank you to all of our attendees. And I'm super excited to introduce you all a little bit more to our new community of practice. So as Anthony said, my name is Sheila Fitzsimmons, and I am the Executive Director of CIOOS Atlantic. And for those of you who are unfamiliar, CIOOS Atlantic is part of the Canadian Integrated Ocean Observing System, a national initiative that's working to advance open, accessible, and interoperable ocean data for the benefit of all Canadians. And we do this because too often ocean data is collected, it's used once, and then it's kind of put on a shelf and never really looked at again. But there's actually a lot of additional value that can be derived from that data if only people knew it existed and were able to access it. So what we do is we work with numerous partners to help standardize their data to national and international best practices and to make it available through an open access platform. And in doing this, we help give researchers and policymakers, nonprofits, and so much more a really solid foundation of interoperable data that helps strengthen collaboration, helps support innovation, and helps enable responsible ocean stewardship. Oh, sorry, next slide. We'll skip over this one. One more. Above and beyond the data tools and data management, CIOOS also takes on projects that have allowed us to develop tools and resources that help make ocean knowledge more accessible. And it's one of those projects that has brought us all here today, Building Bridges. So as we mentioned at the beginning of the event, Building Bridges is a national initiative that's designed to accelerate adoption of artificial intelligence in the ocean sector, with a particular focus on connecting you with the tools and the information you need in order to understand and seize on opportunities offered by AI. Next slide. And a really important component of this work, and what we're really excited to officially launch here today, is the community of practice, a place built for you to find the information, to find the knowledge, and to make the connections you need in order to successfully advance your use of AI. And best of all, it's all completely free. So if you're still learning about AI, you might want to, for example, head to the Resource Center to explore our training materials, or perhaps visit the discussion boards to ask for recommendations from other community members. If you have data, but maybe don't understand how it might be used with AI, you can learn from the case studies we have available, or maybe you wish to connect with AI experts who are part of the community. And even if you're already building AI tools, you maybe might wish to showcase your accomplishments through the community, or to access tools for data analysis, or even connect directly with potential partners. It really doesn't matter where you are on your AI journey or how advanced your organization is with AI. There are lots of resources available in the community, and there's truly something there for everyone. And it's not just about taking advantage of what's already available. We also really encourage you to contribute, share your resources, highlight your career opportunities, promote your events. By doing this, not only do you increase visibility and impact for your organization, but you also create real value for the ocean AI community. Next slide. All right, so we've officially launched the community, but that means we're just getting started. And this summer, we're really excited to offer you a variety of events, from lunch and learns to AI clinics, which are month-long asynchronous Ask Me Anything sessions, where we have expert clinicians and residents that are ready to provide thoughtful, experience-backed answers to all of your AI questions. And looking ahead to September, we'll be hosting a hybrid workshop in Ottawa. So save the date, that's September 21st and 22nd in Ottawa. Follow us on socials for more details. We are going to be launching that registration very shortly, and it promises to be a hands-on experience where you can connect, collaborate, and explore what AI has to offer. And as a bonus and as a thank you all for being here today, everyone attending will receive a special code for 10% off the registration fee. And although there will be a modest registration fee for the September workshop, all of our online resources and events are completely free. All you need to do is sign up for the community. And thank you very much, and I'll leave you with a short video. Next slide.
Welcome to the Building Bridges Community of Practice. This is your virtual collaborative space where ocean researchers and practitioners can connect, learn, and share. Our community aims to break down technical barriers, strengthen AI literacy, and inspire collaborative innovation. Here you can access knowledge, discover new tools and resources, and build meaningful connections with people who share similar interests and needs. Join us today and explore everything this community has to offer. Creating an account is easy. You can sign up with your email or simply use an existing social account like Google. On the homepage, you'll find everything you need to get started, including quick tips for new members, our community guidelines, and answers to frequently asked questions. Next, head to the member directory to complete your profile. This is a private space, accessible only to community members. Once you join the space, click Add Member Profile to introduce yourself to others. You'll also see profiles from other members, including AI experts. From here, you're ready to explore the main features of the community. Use the sidebar on the left to navigate through different spaces. Visit the Resource Center to explore online courses, workshop recordings, data and AI tools, case studies, and references. By clicking into each page, you can learn more about the resources and access the materials directly. Check out conversations to join discussions, showcase your organization or projects, and connect with AI experts who can help answer your questions. In discussion, you can browse all the topics shared within the community, add your thoughts and insights by replying to the existing posts, or start a new discussion of your own. You'll also be able to explore different organizations and projects they are working on. And you're welcome to share yours, too. If you have a technical question and need guidance, the expert help may be the right place for you. We host monthly AI clinics where dedicated experts can answer your questions. You can also post a new question here and see who responds. Or browse the list of AI experts to find the right person and send them a direct private message. Also, don't forget to explore our community spaces, where members share upcoming events, career opportunities, and funding announcements. And don't forget to share your feedback with us. It's incredibly valuable and helps us improve the community for everyone.
All right, well, thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Shayla, for this presentation on this beautiful community that will be built, I believe, in the upcoming weeks, upcoming months. So great to have a place where we can connect with each other. So thank you for this. And I believe you will remain available for questions through the chat and the Q&A section. So attendees can submit their questions right now through the Q&A box, but also through the chat function through Zoom. Thank you so much, Shayla, for your presentation once again.
Thank you very much.
Shayla Fitzsimmons, Executive Director of CIOOS Atlantic. Ciao. All right, everyone. So now we're going to shift gears a little bit and move into our interactive session. This will be a fast-paced, hands-on activity designed to help you explore the Building Bridges platform in real time. Rather than just talking about the community, this is your chance to actually jump in, click around, and get familiar with what's available. So here's how it's going to work. I will guide you through a series of rapid fire clues. Each one will point you to a different part of the platform. You'll have about 60 seconds per clue to find the answer. So it's all about quick thinking and exploration. The goal here isn't just to win. It's to help you discover the different features of the platform. From resources and events to discussions and tools you can use moving forward. All answers for the hunt will be submitted through direct message on the Building Bridges platform. That is very important. Playing along is a fantastic reason to officially join our network. If you haven't had a chance yet, we suggest you open a new tab or window, so just alongside the Zoom, your Zoom browser or whatever you're using for joining this webinar, and to get yourself logged in on the Building Bridges platform. It's quick and easy. We want everyone to be able to participate, so I will take a brief pause here to give you some time to get ready, settle everything down, open up that web browser, and connect through the Building Bridges platform. So we'll take about 30 to 60 seconds. And I can maybe explain a little bit more about the initiative meanwhile, about the scavenger hunt that we will be doing, because yes, there are some prizes on the line. So to make things fun and easy, everyone who participates and submits an answer will be entered into a random draw. You don't need a perfect score to win. The purpose is really just you participating in our great activity. So just jump in, give it a try, and submit what you find to secure your chance at a prize. And we'll announce the winners at the end of today's event. But for now, this is your chance to dive in, explore, and maybe discover something new along the way. Who knows? So, just a few more seconds to get you settled into the account. Maybe you opened that already. Maybe you're a superstar. It's already on your browser. You were ready for this activity today. If it's not the case, that's absolutely fine. Just a few more seconds just to get things settled over here. All right. So I think we are ready for this scavenger hunt. You're logged in, you're ready. So let's get started together. So question 1. Oh, there was even a countdown. Sorry. So what is the primary goal of this initiative? What is the primary goal of this initiative? And we don't have that Jeopardy music that I love every time we're doing that kind of activity, and I don't want to sing it for you folks. So you'll have to imagine that in your head. What is the primary goal of this initiative? And don't forget to DM your answer to CIOOS Atlantic. If you're having trouble finding the primary goal of the initiative, maybe just a clue. Try checking the homepage. So the last 15 seconds, what is the primary goal of this initiative? Five, four, three, two, one. And that's it for question number 1. Let's go for question number 2. List 2 of the building bridges partners. That should be a pretty simple one. List 2 of the building bridges partners. And you have less than 60 seconds to find the answer. So less than 30 seconds left. Where would partner information usually appear on a website? Maybe if you try scrolling down on the homepage, you might have the answer of who are the building bridges partners. So 10 seconds left. Big countdown for question number 2. All right, people, time is up. Let's go for question number 3. In the first AI clinic hosted by Building Bridges for this month, who are the 2 experts featured? In the first AI clinic hosted by Building Bridges for this month, who are the 2 experts featured? That's a fairly interesting question. And yes, the info is available on the website, so you might want to take a look at some sections. Might not be available on the homepage necessarily. And 30 seconds left. You might want to take a look in the space called expert help, because they are AI experts. So in the first AI clinic hosted by Building Bridges for this month, who are the 2 experts featured? 10 seconds left. And 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And time is up for question 3. Question 4 now. What is the title of the upcoming Lunch and Learn session hosted by Building Bridges? What is the title of the upcoming Lunch and Learn session hosted by Building Bridges? Would there be a space on the website where you would find all of the events, all of the upcoming events by Building Bridges? Have you taken a look at the events space? What is the title of the upcoming Lunch and Learn session hosted by Building Bridges? 10 seconds left. And 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And time is up for question 4. Let's go to the next question directly. What is the title of the literature review published in the community? I'll repeat that once again. What is the title of the literature review published in the community? That's our question number 5 for today. Scavenger hunt on the Building Bridges platform to help you discover a little bit about this great platform. Thirty seconds left. Have you taken a look at a section called references? You might have your answer over there. What is the title of the literature review published in the community? Ten seconds left. And we'll end in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Time is up for question 5. All right, folks, 2 questions left. Let's go to number 6. The AI training course, AI Ethics for Oceans, Part 1, is hosted on which platform? 60 seconds to the countdown. The AI training course, AI Ethics for Oceans, Part 1, is hosted on which platform? Don't forget to DM your answer directly to CIOOS Atlantic. And 30 seconds left to the countdown. Do you know that there is a dedicated space for online courses? Can you find it? To view the course details, you can click that post. That felt a little bit like Dora the Explorer when she's pointing things at the screen. But yeah, there's a dedicated space for online courses. Can you find it on the website? 5 seconds left. 4, 3, 2, 1. And that's it for question 6. Now for our last question of our scavenger hunt, question 7. Find a post in the discussion forum about the Building Bridges National Workshop and leave a comment about one topic you would like to see explored at the event. 60 seconds to the counter. Starts now. Find a post in the discussion forum about the Building Bridges National Workshop and leave a comment about one topic you would like to see explored at that event. And 30 seconds left to the counter. Find a post in the discussion forum about the Building Bridges National Workshop and leave a comment about one topic you would like to see explored at that event. And now the big countdown for our last question. So 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And that's it. Time is up. I hope that you did had some fun doing the scavenger hunt today. If you need more time to think or if ideas come to you later, feel free to leave a comment anytime during or even after the event. We really want to hear your thoughts and interests about building bridges. And that's it for our questions today. Make sure to submit your answers through direct message to CIOOS Atlantic via the Building Bridges platform. Very important. Using the instructions on the screen. I'll give you a moment to do that now. All right, folks, I hope you all enjoyed your break. It is now my pleasure to introduce our second keynote speaker, Dr. Lubna Benabou. Dr. Benabou is a full professor at the Université du Québec à Rimouski and chairholder of the Research Chair in Artificial Intelligence for Supply Chains. She is also affiliated with MILA, the Quebec Artificial Intelligence Institute, as well as several leading research centers focused on data and operations research. Her work focuses on applying machine learning and data-driven approaches to improve decision-making in complex systems, with a particular emphasis on maritime supply chains. She is actively collaborating with the Quebec government and industry partners to develop a digital maritime transport system for the St. Lawrence Seaway, aimed at improving both efficiency and environmental sustainability. Today, she'll be sharing how machine learning can be applied to decarbonize and optimize maritime operation. And now I'm pleased to turn the mic over to Dr. Lubna Benabou.
Thank you, Anthony, and thank you, the team, for the invitation. So I'm very glad here to be to share with you what you are doing in our research about machine learning and how it could help us to decarbonize and also to have a more efficient maritime supply chains. And I will share also some work that we are doing in oceanography because, yeah, we are trying to have a more sustainable and efficient maritime supply chain, but we are working with maritime science also. So if you go next, please. Next. And next, yes, as has been presented, so I'm a professor at University of Quebec at Rimouski and also a member of MILA. And today what I want to share with you is our experience in applying machine learning in the maritime supply chain, but also how we manipulate maritime data and oceanographic data also to predict the vessel's ETA and speed and also how we collaborate with industry, typically the company estate, to develop for the Ministry of Transport in Quebec a smart maritime transport system. After that, I will share with you some results of our project to predict the emission for the ships and also the noise of the ships, and how we can use machine learning to contribute to the protection of marine mammals in the Saint Laurent Seaway. And I will conclude by some perspective on the application of artificial intelligence in maritime science in general. Next, please. So, thank you. So, as you know, over 80% of global trade by volume is carried by sea, but shipping is the least emission intensive mode of transport. Next, comparing to the air, to the road, and also the rail. But the challenge that we have with the shipping, it's in terms of the waiting time of the vessels in the port. So when we are in in the ocean or in the sea, we have a full combustion. So there is the emission is not like as big as the other transport ways. But when the ships are waiting on the port, we have the NOx, we have the SOx, and it's not good. This is what we are trying to reduce. Next, please. And also the contribution of the maritime transport emission is just 3%, but it could reach 130% of their 2008 level by 2050, which is huge. That's why the IMO, they updated their goals in terms of decarbonization of maritime transport. Next, please. So the first, it was like 30% by 2030 and 50% by 2050 comparing to 2008. But we hope to completely decarbonize shipping by the end of the century. And next, please. So, and we have 3 types of measures to reduce the emission, like in maritime transport. The first one is technology. So in terms of the design, for example, of the ship, the superstructure, the power, the propulsion, and also in terms of the innovation in low sulfur fuel oil and also green fuels. The third one is about the market, is to give some economic incentives like emission levels, taxes, trading systems. But the problem with the economic incentives, sometimes it doesn't work fully. For example, when in Europe, when they apply some economic incentives, so some vessels they choose to go to Istanbul or Tangier instead of Algeciras or Marseille. So it's not as efficient as we want in terms of the impact of emission and decarbonization of ocean in general. So the third measure in our research share, we are interested about this measure, is about operation. How we can have a more efficient energy management, how we can have a more fleet management, how we can optimize the voyage. So we will reduce the volume, we will reduce the emission, and we will reduce the impact on the environment. That we will work with the part of operation to try to have a more efficient and also a decarbonized maritime supply chain. Next, please. So one of the most known strategy, and it was applied at the Port of Rotterdam, it's the policy of just in time. What that means, policy of just in time? So the idea is that the vessel will arrive to the port in the optimal time. What's that mean? So when the vessel will arrive to the port, we'll have all the resources. We'll have the crane, we have human resources, and we will minimize the waiting time on the port. How we will do that? We can regulate the speed of the ship. So we will regulate, for example, it's not good to be earlier in the port, and it's bad to be not in the time on the port also. So what we want is to regulate speed of the vessel, so the vessel will arrive in the good time to the port, and we will reduce the waiting time. And by applying this strategy of just in time in the Port of Rotterdam, and I had the occasion, like in October, I've been there, and it was amazing to see how the flow of the ships and also the reduction of the waiting time, and some parts of the ports are completely digitalized. And it was very, very nice to see how we are applying directly this policy of just in time. And some of the most interesting results, it's up to 10% saving emission using this part of the optimization of the voyage. So in terms of the choice of trajectory, in terms of the minimization of the waiting time, 35% like for the bulkers in terms of the reduction of the emission, and 4% for the container ships activity. So next, please. So in the beginning of this project, so we've been working on that since 2018, and we begin with the Ocean Atlantic. After that, we are working here in San Laurent Seaway, and we want to explore what is the most cost-effective strategy to enhance operational efficiency, but also sustainability in maritime transport, and to reduce the impact on the environment. Because yes, we want to achieve like the sustainability and to reduce the impact, but we have also to take into account the efficiency. We have to take into account the cost of our measures, because shipping is very, very important, like in the trade in all the world. So we couldn't just give some solution that it will not be cost effective, it not be efficient for like all the stakeholders that we have in shipping industry. This is what we want. We want some multi-objectives like optimization. So in the part, we want to have the minimum of impact on the environment, reducing the emission, but in the same time to be more efficient, like for the stakeholders that you have in this industry. Next, please. And in the last study from about the review of maritime transport, they found that digital solution like artificial intelligence and blockchain could improve, like in a more faster the efficiency and also the sustainability. But how we will do that? Next, please. So there is many application of artificial intelligence in maritime transport in general, in terms of efficiency. So we can have in the CC area, query crane operation, how we can optimize those operation. In terms of transport area, for example, the truck traffic forecasting, storage area, how we can schedule all the yard crane, and in terms of operation process, for example, the forecasting of vessel traffic. Next, please. And in the side of sustainability, we can use artificial intelligence to predict the fuel consumption, to forecast truck traffics, and also to reduce the waiting time and have a real-time monitoring and control of emission. So this is the applications already exist in the literature, and we have like the impact of those applications in terms of sustainability of maritime transport. Next, please. And there is one of the most important and source of uncertainty in making decision in maritime transport in general, and when is the vessel arriving at the port? Because independent on this question, we'll have how the time that this ship will wait, and also what is the resources in terms of the port will prepare for this. And what we want to achieve is just-in-time policy to arrive in like the time that we want. We want to regulate the ship speed to ensure just-in-time arrival, but in the same time, we want to minimize environmental impact. For your information, only 52% on-time vessel calls. This is a huge, and sometimes you have until 1.5 days of delay. So the deviation is huge, and this deviation occasion waiting time. We have waiting time. So and sometimes it will accelerate in terms of the speed. So we'll not have a huge impact in terms of environment, but also we'll have a waiting time. So we'll have a more emission near the ports. Next, please. So I will share with you now some machine learning approaches that we use to predict the ETA and also the speed. Next. As you know, the San Laurent Seaway is the longest inland waterway linking the Great Lakes and Atlantic Ocean. We have more than 8,000 commercial vessels by year. And to predict the ETA of vessels, we're not only using machine learning models, but we propose a sequential model. So the idea is when the vessel arrives to the Canadian water, we can have the ETA not only in the port of destination, but all the ports in the passage and all the points of the passage of this port. And we have an update of this ETA. This is what is new compared to other solutions that we can find in markets and in research also. So we have an update of this ETA, and we can have all the the ETA in all the points until the port of destination. And what is also interesting in this work, it's for all the type of ships and cargoes, and also we can have this prediction just on accessible information. This is something just on open data that we can have. This is something that we want to do, so our solution could be accessible also. Next, please. So for those with interest, you can find the paper here. It's a deep learning approach for vessel estimated arrival time. And with the sequence model, we developed, we used some deep learning model from MLP and LSTM. And after that, with the companies who are developing XST company, I will show you some after that. So we tried also to give the quantification of uncertainty of this ETA prediction, because the port, they don't want just to know when the vessel will arrive, but also to have some interval of confidence about this uncertainty of this arrival time. We used many technique, and we have a very, very interesting results about this part. Next, please. Having only the ETA is not enough, because we want also to monitor, to improve the vessel arrival monitoring. We want to see if there is some patterns, if there is some shifts, if there is like some outliers in those ETA. Next, please. So my background is industrial engineering. Before I did my master and my PhD in machine learning and statistical learning theory. So in my background in industrial engineering, we are using statistical control chart in industry, something that's very used to control, for example, some KPIs in industry. So we developed the same technique, but by using deep learning based vessel arrival monitoring with autoregressive statistical control charts, and also by combining with deep learning. And the idea here is to monitor this ETA, to track the variability of the ETA, and also to have some characteristics to see why we have this vessel is not respecting the ETA. What is the outlier? How we can monitor this arrival? And this help to reduce the waiting time, because we are like monitoring this arrival. Why we can do that? Because our model, we can have the update of the ETA all the time. So we can monitor this ETA also. Next, please. Having just ETA is not enough, because ETA, yes, it's good to manage the operation on the port. It's good to reduce the waiting time, but we didn't have like a way to decide. We didn't have a way to act. To decide, we need to know the speed of the vessel. Classically, the speed of the vessel is like estimated by some physical model, but here we have the history of the data. So, and we predict the speed of the vessel based on information for the vessel traffic surfaces, and also by using machine learning algorithms. And what is interesting with the speed is not just like to have this sequential estimation and to know the speed in each time, but it will help us after that to predict the emission of the ships, and also to predict like the noise of the ships. This is why we are trying to predict the speed. Next, please. Here we can find the paper that's already published with the team of the company XST that I'm working with, and also some colleagues in my researchers at University of Quebec at Rimouski. So here we have like algorithm, we have the part of data, and in this paper you can have the detail about the part of processing the data and how we applied like our deep learning algorithms. And the model provides accurate and fast prediction, and also it relies on VTS available data, something very, very important. And one single model could be used for any type of vessels. This is something that we are really proud of, because we functionally that we have just for one type of vessel, just for continuous, but we can also deal with bulkers in our case. Next, please. So what we developed in our research chair is not just with the university, it's not with researchers, it's not with students, it was with a company. So the company XST is based in Lévis City. So they already developed 20 years ago the system INAV with la Garde Côtière Canadienne. And what we did with them is to develop a smart maritime transport system for the Saint Laurent Seaway. Next, please. This smart maritime transport system was developed with this company, but also with the Ministry of Transport of Quebec. So the idea is to give for all the users, all people they are navigating in Saint Laurent Seaway, they can have access to this smart transport system. This is something very amazing that we developed with the company XST and Transport Québec. So they can, in each time for any vessel, like when they enter to like the Canadian water, we can have the prediction of the ETA, the prediction of the speed, and also the updates of this prediction. This is something that we have in the system. And XST, they give us access to more than 23 years to train our algorithms, but it's not just about 23 years of data, but also the expertise of the company. They help us in the part of processing the data. We are speaking about the data in maritime science in general and oceanography. The part of pre-processing the data is very, very important. And it took, like example for this project, it was 3 years project. 1.5 years was just about the data, not about algorithm, not about the test, not about the training, just for the data. But the expertise of the team, because they already developed 20 years ago a navigation system, they help us, for example, to detect the outlier, to detect some comportments like isolated comportments for the vessels. And the way that we are working with them in the university, we developed the deep learning models, and with the company, we developed the way that we are processing the data and also the system. So we are getting the data, we are training them in the same time, and we have an update for the system each 6 months, and we continue to work with this company in terms of the part of the emission and also of the noise. And I think it will be interesting to have another meeting just to show you in details the system with all the possibilities that you can have for the community. Next, please. Next, please. So now we have the prediction for the ETA and for the speed. We can reduce the waiting time, we can reduce the emission, but we want to predict those emissions because we want to act. Next, please. So we want to know how we can act in terms of reglementation, in terms of how we can align with the IMO regulation and also with Canadian government. Next, please. So in Canada, we have one of the first platform for maritime transport emission. It's one of the first in the world. And what we have here, this is a real image for this platform. So each year we have level of emission in all Canadian waters by type of vessels, by region, by type of emission. But this platform is very, very interesting. But it's an annual platform, and it's calculates posteriori in terms of we cannot predict the future emission. So what we want in our work, how we can predict the future emission, like for the next year, for next day, how we have met now the speed of the ships between each 2 points. We want to know also what is the emission between each 2 points. What is the emission near the port? Which type of emission we have near the port? So what you want to work on. Next, please. So we developed a framework. This framework is based on the prediction of the speed. So we have the collection of the data from AS, from characteristic of the vessels. We have the part of processing all data, filtering, processing. After that, we have the prediction of the speed, remember? But the speed that we are predicting based on AS data is the speed over ground. And if we want to calculate the emission, we need the speed through water. So we need the currents. And to have the speed through water is more problematic because we didn't have the history of the data for speed through water. Yes, we can see in each ship you can have the speed through water, but we didn't have the history of data for that. So what we tried, we looked for something more related to marine science. So we tried to predict this speed through water, but we need the current. So we developed a paper. Next, please. So we developed a framework based on physics. It was a hybrid model between physics and machine learning. And in this framework, what we developed is the prediction of the speed through water based on the history of the data of some voyage, and also based on the current that we can have, all the environmental data that we can have. And with that, we have an estimation of the speed through water. This is the first application of that, and it was published at NeurIPS last year. Next, please. So here we have all the sources of maritime water data here in Quebec. Next, please. And you have Copernicus. We are using mostly Copernicus, but we didn't have the level that we want in terms of resolution. Next, please. And next. And next. Next, please. So here we developed, next, please. We developed a multi-scale solar gauge prediction based on fournira operator to have the good resolution, and also our hypothesis between adding the current vector to speed over ground to have speed through water. We use also our oceanographic research vessel at UICAR, Coriolis, to confirm this hypothesis that we had. Next, please. And this is our mission. Next. Next, please. And based on that, also we have the history of the emission from the Ministry of Environment, Canada, and we predict also the emission based on this history. Next, please. Next. Now we have the prediction of ETA, the prediction of the speed, and the prediction of the emission. But as you know, Saint-Laurent Seaway, we have marine mammals we need to protect. So we have more than 15 marine species. Next, please. And at Université of Quebec and with the ISMER, the Institute of Marine Science, my colleague Pierre, with him, I'm working. He's working with data from Mars. So this is a marine acoustic research station in Saint-Laurent Seaway. Next, please. With data from Mars, so we have the recording of all the vessels in Saint-Laurent Seaway. We developed a hybrid model that predicts the noise of the ships depending on the speed of the ships, of the current, and the characteristics of the ships. So now we have this information. Next, please. But it was not enough because we want also, next, we want also to detect what type of marine mammals we have. Next, please. So we developed a machine learning model that can recognize the species of marine mammals depending on the recording of their noise. Next, please. And here we developed also a framework that was developed at NERIS last year about how we can denoise, because we have many sources of noise, for example, from ships, from environments, and this is something that is we developed already. Next, please. You can, excuse me, you can just, if you can just push on the button that when we can hear the noise, if it's possible. Excuse me, can we remove to the other? Yes. Can you put yes, the first one, second one, and third one, just to hear the noise of the beluga and also the ship, if it's possible. If it doesn't work, doesn't matter. So just what I want to share with you, it's we have the noise of the beluga, the noise of the ships. Okay, no problem. And the noise of the rain, and we can see how much it's difficult to distinguish between the three noise. And this work, what you try to do is to apply some attention machine learning algorithms to have this denoising. Next, please. So how much I have in terms of time, please? Just to be sure if I have to conclude. How much I have in terms of time? Well, I have time. Okay, thanks. So in terms of conclusion and perspective, before to discuss this part, I want to share with you some challenges that we had, in the prediction of the ETA for the speed, and also the emission, and also in terms of the noise. So the most challenging part was about the data. It was not about the algorithm. This is something very, very, very important. It was about the data, the way, for example, to develop smart maritime transport system with the existing company. We need 1.5 years just for the data, but we have 23 years of data. So, and we need expertise from people for the company. So, because they developed already the maritime system, so they know about this. This is the first thing that was challenging. So, in the part of predicting the ETA with speed. In the part of prediction, the emission, the problem that we had, so we need the speed through water. So, to have the speed through water, so we need the data of the currents, and the data of the current that we find, we didn't find the good resolution that we need. So, we developed our proper algorithm to have to be able to have downscaling of those data. This is something was very, very challenging in terms of using data directly, environmental data directly. We have too much environmental data, and I am really, really happy to see the mission of the CIOOS, because when we want to use some environmental data, it's too much data, but not necessarily the data that we want as a researcher. So it was challenging for us, like, to see which data that we need. And after that, we have to develop our proper downscaling algorithm to have the resolution that we need. This is the first part. And the part of the predicting the noise of the ships, it was about quality of the data. So we have the data from the hydrophone. So my colleague Pierre is putting the hydrophone in July. After that, near November, they are having those hydrophone. We have all the recording, and it took us too much long, like, to treat those data, and we have too much missed data. So we developed algorithms to develop something more smart, not just to put some random forest or something like this to input this data, but to have something like when we have a meaning, because it's not only a missing data. Sometimes, like, the measure instrument is not working. Sometimes we have a mask in the noise. So to work with recording is very, very challenging also. This is something that we add. And we have to develop a new machine learning algorithm to treat them. And the last challenge that we had when working with the recording to try to recognize the marine species, it was about the denoising. There is too much noise, plus the noise that you want to predict. And we developed our proper algorithm to work on this denoising. So the most challenge that we had, it was about, I can say, yes, we developed new algorithm, hybrid algorithm. It was very interesting, but I can say that 70% of the effort in all those projects, it was about the data. So in terms of conclusion, next, please. So next, please, also. So we developed some machine learning model, but also we developed some hybrid model, for example, to have the part of the currents. And this development of hybrid model between machine learning and oceanography, for example, and what now we have a name for this, it's artificial intelligence for science. It's very interesting. We are trying to develop machine learning algorithms for a specific area of science. Very interesting in terms of the results, but can we be confident to use machine learning algorithms instead of numerical or physics algorithms? Next, please. We have challenge in artificial intelligence adoption in general and in oceanography in particular. So in terms of interpretability, robustness, causality, and reliability. Next, please. So in terms of interpretability, we need transparent artificial intelligence decision-making process. We need to interpret the results. And most of machine learning algorithms, they are black box, and we can't interpret this result. This is something very, very important we have to work on. In terms of robustness, you have to know that most of machine learning algorithms, typically deep learning algorithms, they are very, very, very sensitive to data. So we need a more rigorous validation of artificial intelligence in terms of the challenge that we can have, in terms of the quality of the data, the rigorous validation. This is something that we have to work on if we want to have a more application of artificial intelligence in oceanography. Next, please. If we want to decide, we need to know what is the causes of the problem. What is the causal model? What will have the impact? For example, I'm predicting the emission of the ships. I'm predicting the noise that will impact the marine mammals in Salon Seaway. I want to know what is the cause of this emission. What is the cause of this noise? So we want to understand more. Sometimes we can sacrifice the accuracy of the algorithms, but I want to have a causal model that can help me to have a more interpretation of the results. And finally, something very, very important, thank you. Something very important is the reliability. So we need to develop reliable models for the critical application. For example, if I want to predict and to use the model of machine learning for the impact of climate change, for example, to predict the trajectory of a fuel accident. This is a very, very critical decision. So I have to quantify the uncertainty relating to my prediction. I have to give some confidence levels. I have to prove to the users that this is the margin of error of my algorithms. This is something very, very important. We don't need that in all areas. When I am predicting, for example, some KPIs in finance, something like this, I don't need to have this quantifying uncertainty. But when I will decide based on the prediction that I'm making, I need to quantify this uncertainty. Now we are working with a colleague at Mila and also Université Laval and also some colleagues at University of Oslo. We are trying to develop how we can have a more like intensity classification based for machine learning algorithms, and also for using, for example, like what you did in our system, we are using some conformal prediction to have some confidential interval for the prediction. Next, please. The other thing is about risk management. This is something very, very important. For me, when we are using artificial intelligence, I'm from Quebec. I'm from Université of Quebec at Rimouski, and also we have the Declaration of Montreal. Yoshua Benjo was my mentor for many years, and we adopt like very, very prudent way to use artificial intelligence. So when we are using artificial intelligence in oceanography, we have to develop a systematic approach to identify, assess, and mitigate artificial intelligence based and risks in maritime application. This is something very, very important. And sometimes we have like to sacrifice the accuracy, we have to sacrifice the performance of the algorithms, and to respect more the part of ethics. Next, please. For example, we have a classic example that we can find in literature. So traditional AA models showed systematic bias in predicting hurricane intensity for certain geographic region. Why? Because they were trained only in some region in the world. Something very, very important. We want to apply like our algorithms, we are to use our data, but we have also to be very, very averse to the risk, very, very prudent in terms of if there is any bias on terms of the data. If we are using some data from region here in Canada, it could be applied in other region. You have to be very, very prudent in terms of the impact of environment. We can see, yes, in this region we'll have impact of marine mammals, but in other region, it could be marine mammal, it could be people, it could be, this is something you have to be aware of. What is the risk assessment of my artificial intelligence application? Next, please. This is something that's very interesting. It's one of the most that I found like in this institute in the US. They are trying not only to apply artificial intelligence, but responsible, trustworthy artificial intelligence with a risk communication. We have to be like very, very clear with people they are using our results. Yes, we are predicting, we are using machine learning, but there is this level of error. There is this level of uncertainty. This is what we are giving to you. You have to apply this. You have to be aware of the risks that you have using that. And also in the part of environmental impact. And this is a very, very good like way to do artificial intelligence in oceanography. Next, please. So in conclusion, next, please. So for me, artificial intelligence will transform, is transforming the maritime supply chain and the maritime science in general. And it could enhance efficiency, sustainability. We can accelerate the discovery in maritime science. We can valorize the data, all the data that we are getting. We can help the part of calculation in physical model, in numerical model. We can help in mitigate the climate change like consequence, and we can strengthen environmental protection. If we can work all together, like oceanograph, people specialized for machine learning, people specialized in terms of ethics, in terms of the governance of data scientists. If we can work all together, we can like have a more useful way for artificial intelligence. We are very, very like lucky here in Canada to have 3 big institutes in machine learning of the world, in artificial intelligence in the world. We are very lucky to have very, very interesting institute in oceanography in Dalhousie, University of Quebec at Rimouski, Laval University, McGill, University of Victoria, University of British Columbia. So we are lucky to have the two community, so we can work together to have a more application of artificial intelligence. Next, please. And this is my team. In my research, we are working together like with many areas from maritime acoustic, from physics, from oceanography, from climate change, from machine learning. So in many areas, and we are working together to achieve our goal to have a more sustainable and more efficient maritime supply chain. Thank you for your attention.
And thank you so much, Dr. Benabou, for this great presentation today. It's always so great to see people that are passionate like you presenting such important topics. Thank you. We do have time for one question, and I'll take the top questions from our Q&A section. You mentioned technology, operations, and market as methods to reduce emissions. Why is consumer behavior not included as a method to reduce emissions?
Yeah, very, very interesting question. So technology operation and markets, it was like the three ways that identified by IMO. This is not me, it's IMO that identified, this is the three way. But I think because mostly they are speaking about the shipping industry, so just the shipping industry. And I think that they will include this part in the parts of the market. So, and I agree, in the beginning, we have to reduce the way that you are doing maritime supply chain. I agree with you. If we have lows, if we can reduce like the level of the utilization of the shipping in the world, so we can reduce the emission directly. I agree with you.
Amazing. And Dr. Benabou, are you staying with us to answer more questions in the chat box and the Q&A? I think there's some other questions that are coming in. People were actually very interested and intrigued into your presentation. So I think there's a lot to unwind with our attendees today. Merci beaucoup pour votre présentation et on espère que vous allez passer une excellente journée. Puis merci d'être avec nous.
Merci. Au revoir.
Dr. Lubna Benabou, a full professor at the Université du Québec at Rimouski and chair of the Research Chair in Artificial Intelligence for Supply Chains. Next up, without further ado, we're pleased to welcome two speakers this time from the Marine Conservation Institute, Beth Pike and Nikki Arasta. Beth Pike is the director of the Marine Protection Atlas, or MP Atlas, and a senior scientist at the Institute. She leads efforts to evaluate and report on effective marine conservation areas, helping to highlight where protections are truly making an impact. The MP Atlas has become a widely recognized global resource, offering one of the only scientifically grounded approaches to assessing both the level and effectiveness of marine protection. She's joined by Nikki Arasta, a marine conservation scientist who plays a key role in advancing global efforts to protect 30% of the ocean by 2030. Nikki's work focuses on data stewardship, scientific research, and collaboration with partners around the world to better understand and evaluate marine protected areas. She also contributes to maintaining the integrity of the MP Atlas and supports broader initiatives, including conservation efforts in areas beyond national jurisdiction. Together, they'll be sharing insights on scaling marine conservation efforts and how data, and increasingly AI, obviously, can support more effective production and decision-making. And now I'm pleased to turn the mic over to Beth Pike and Nikki Arasta.
Thank you so much, Anthony, for that warm introduction, and to all the organizers for building this community. I've already learned so much today from the other speakers. I'm Nikki Harasta, as said. I'm here with the director of the MP Atlas, Beth Pike. I'll be doing most of the talking today. And we're just here to share a little bit about our process of applying AI to scaling up MPA effectiveness tracking for global marine conservation targets. Today, we're going to focus a little bit more on our process, starting from scratch as conservationists, and rather than our results. Next slide. So first, a little background. As Anthony said, the MP Atlas is a primary initiative of the Marine Conservation Institute, and we try to offer a more nuanced picture of global marine protection. We do this by integrating science-based assessments into our atlas. If you haven't checked us out before, feel free to scan the QR code or just search mpatlas.org. And we do this to measure progress towards protecting 30% of the global ocean in fully and highly protected areas by 2030. Next slide. So the official database for protected areas is protectedplanet.net. And this is the official repository. It's a joint project between the UN and the IUCN. The data is self-reported by governments, and this does a very important job of collating a massive amount of data with basic information like boundaries, name, and designation for both marine and terrestrial and OECMs. And this is reporting on basically the quantity of protected area, but not necessarily the quality. Next slide. However, not all MPAs are created the same. They're designed differently. They vary widely in their objectives, in their location, in the regulations, enforcement, budget, etc. And this results in a variety of different outcomes for biodiversity. Next. So, in response to this challenge, an international group of MPA experts came together to develop a science-based framework to categorize MPAs and link them to expected outcomes. Published in 2021, the MPA guide endorses the IUCN definition of an MPA. It defines 4 stages of establishment, 4 levels of protection, and then links those levels to likely outcomes for biodiversity. Next slide, please. So the best science tells us that implemented, fully and highly protected areas are linked to positive outcomes of biodiversity. That's why this 3.4% figure is what we count towards the 30 by 30 target on the MP Atlas. Next. And this is why you'll see a different number on our atlas than you will from protectedplanet.net. This 10% is just for the marine area, but it includes OECMs and it includes designated MPAs that just exist on paper. And we only count ones that have actually been implemented on paper and actually achieve highly and fully protected areas. So our data just complements the WDCPA by distinguishing what's on paper from real world impact. Next slide, please. So in 2024, we conducted a study to establish a global baseline to see basically where we're at for MPA effectiveness. The 100 largest global MPAs covers 90% of the global reported MPA coverage. And we found that a quarter of assessed MPAs were unimplemented at the time, and 1/3 were incompatible with the conservation of nature, allowing really harmful activities like mining or bottom trawling. Next slide, please. And since we have a largely Canadian audience today, I thought I would just share with you guys a snapshot of where Canada is at. So the WDCPA reports over 1,000 MPAs. The MP Atlas has assessed about 50 so far. And the WDPA also reports that this is about 11.45% of total marine area, whereas we've assessed 12.5% of all of Canada's waters. So if you think that my math is off, this can be accounted for by the fact that the largest MPAs do account for most of the protected area. So Tugiayuituk alone is one MPA that covers this 5.5% of the total marine fully and highly protected area in Canada. And then we also like to capture proposed MPAs because that is an important step on the way to implementation. The WDCPA only captures things that have been designated into law. So for that reason, we have these additional 2 that make up about 100,000 extra square kilometers. But the take-home message basically is that Canada's at about 5.7% on their way to protecting 30% of their oceans. And we still have about over 1,000 unassessed MPAs in Canada. So this is where AI comes in. There's nearly 17,000 MPAs globally. We've assessed about 1,500. Each assessment takes hours to days to complete. And we really, oh, sorry, could we get to the next slide, please? And yeah, and we basically need to scale this somehow. Next slide, please. So the opportunity here is with large language models, they're able to process vast data sources in seconds. They can be trained to carry out complex tasks like these MPA assessments. And we may not be computer scientists, but we do have an extensive knowledge and experience applying the MPA guide. And so this positions us well to train a tool to do the same thing. Next slide, please. So for non-coding, non-AI experts, prompt engineering is sort of where our sweet spot is. Just a little vocab prompt engineering is designing what you ask an AI model to do and how you ask it to do that. It is a skill, and there's really quite an art to designing a really good prompt. So just starting out, we started with Gemini because we wanted to use this jump feature that stores a prompt to a saved chat, so I wouldn't have to retrain the chat every single time I wanted to carry out an assessment. And I had found this resource online by this person, Ebersonf, who had posted a prompt they created on GitHub called the Gem Generator that asked an extensive list of questions to help me create a prompt. So it's a prompt to help you create a prompt. And this is a really good starting point if you're starting from scratch with prompting. I will also share all of these like links and resources with you guys in the chat or in the Q&A at the end. Next slide, please. So once I had a good first prompt, the task was then just iterating. We switched to ChatGPT at this point, and then we would upload the prompt into the chat, loads of context, assessment training, and a grading rubric. And we provided some examples. We have a data set of 1,500 for some back for later iterations of training. And then we just edited the prompt and adjusted for errors. Next slide, please. And what we came up with was two prompts actually, because we found that the model had a hard time performing both of these tasks well. They're both quite involved. So we created one prompt to locate resources to inform the MPA guide assessments. This is like management plans or official decrees or monitoring reports. And then another one that could take those resources and apply the MPA guide framework and then generate an assessment. And we found that this worked a lot better. Next slide. So our current AI assisted workflow is a little bit like this, with the user interfacing between these two prompts that we have established, just with a chatbot. Next slide. But what we would like to do next is automate this whole process. So ideally, it would look something like this. A user would interface with the tool. The tool would interface with our created prompts, and then this would generate an output that is ready for human verification and in some format that is compatible with our database that we could easily upload from the back end. Next slide. So to get started on this phase 2 of automating the workflow, I took a few courses. I needed a little bit more understanding and training to engage with actually creating this automated system. And we also worked with a collaborator and friend, Dr. Fabio Fraction of Windsurf, and we adopted Claude at this point. Windsurf is just a coding environment that has a built-in AI code that writes the code for me because I am not a coder. Next slide. So yeah, a few things that I learned from this process is that the industry best practice is currently that the more narrow and focused your prompt, the better it is. So our approach was to create high quality focused atomic prompts and then string these together in a prompt chain to create an MPA guide assessment pipeline, which would essentially just break down the big complex task of an MPA guide assessment into smaller chunks with instructions. So doing this is just means that the prompts are easier to fix individually and context drift and hallucinations are much less likely. Our also hope is that after we could use this tool eventually to complete the global MPA data set. But once we have that in the future, that these chain prompts allow us to minimize the amount of processing that we'll need to update certain aspects of assessments. Next slide. So now our current workflow looks a little bit like this. The light blue would be separately authored prompts. So for example, one prompt could answer the question, does this MPA meet the minimum criteria to be considered implemented? And all of this is really well defined by the MPA guide. I didn't have much time to break down that process. If you're interested in knowing about our assessment framework, I'll provide the resources for you to be able to check that out as well. But each prompt is very detailed. It's trained on how to handle uncertainty, individually trained on practice examples until it can then consistently replicate a human-like analysis, or maybe even better than a human analysis. But this is a work in process. These detailed prompts do take time. So as said, I don't really have any results to share with you at this point. But if you're interested in this work and you want to support it or have any questions for us, we do love to collaborate. We are not the AI experts, as said. We're very new and humble to this process. So if you have any advice for us or any questions, funding opportunities, tool suggestions, please feel free to scan the QR code or drop any comments in the Q&A, and we'll make sure that we get to them. And I'll go ahead and drop the links to the courses I took and other resources that we've used to get to this point so far for anyone else who's just starting out and wants to know more about how to use AI for their work. Next slide. And that's it.
That's it. That's all. But that was pretty full. Lots of information, lots of great info there. Thank you so much, Nikki, for your time. We do have time for a quick question. If anyone wants to drop a question real quick, we might have time to answer very quickly to this one. But if not, or maybe if your brain is still processing a question at this point, you may feel free to drop your question into the Q&A section in the Zoom bar below, or you might need to click the More section and then the Q&A section to access the Q&A. Quick question. So what does human verification look like in the context of MPA assessment? How do you mitigate hallucination? So that will require a very brief response, Nikki.
Okay. Yeah, so we do train the model to cite all of its sources very carefully and detailed. So it does require us going back and double checking resources, but we have it built into the prompt to do in-text citations with page numbers. So it's really easy to just go back and make sure that, okay, yeah, it's taking this information directly from this source. You also have to make sure that the links actually exist, because sometimes be good though at not hallucinating and is really good at letting you know the level of certainty that it is offering you. That's sort of what the process looks like. And I don't remember the second part of the question, but I don't know if I have time to answer it.
Well, very briefly, because it's actually fairly interesting, but how do you mitigate hallucination?
Yeah, so this prompt training is really how we do that. I think just piecing it into the smallest task and simplest task that you possibly can. And then running it through examples. I didn't mention this earlier, but a part of our method is also establishing a really good set of examples. So examples that we've already done, assessments we've already done. If you were to take just like anchoring, for example, the level of protection for one specific activity, I provided 1 to 5 examples, straightforward examples of a highly protected level for anchoring, and then also 1 to 5 tricky examples, so that by the time that it's actually dealing with like an MPA from, who knows where in a very different location, hopefully at that point it's seen enough difference that the chances of hallucinations are very small. But then if they continue, I can go back and I can just edit that one specific prompt on its own. So yeah, hopefully that answers that question.
uh, a learning process for for
Definitely.
humans, but also for machine, I guess, because they need
Yeah.
to learn as well. So fairly interesting point of view there, Nikia Vesta, marine conservation scientist with the MPFS initiative. Thank you so much for being here with us today, and you'll still answer some questions through the Q&A. So to all our attendees today, feel free to drop your questions in the chat or the Q&A section. Thank you, Nikki.
Thank you.
And now, next up on our virtual stage, I'm pleased to introduce Ted Schmidt. Ted is the Senior Director of Conservation at the Allen Institute for Artificial Intelligence, where he leads partnerships for the Almo Earth program. He brings over 15 years of global experience applying technology to both terrestrial and marine conservation challenges. Ted is also the co-founder of Earth Ranger, one of the world's most widely used protected area management platforms, now supporting over 900 sites across 90 countries. He went on to lead Skylight, a powerful tool used by more than 200 organizations to combat illegal fishing around the world. Today, Ted will share insights on what it takes to successfully deliver AI and technology solutions for environmental impact. And now I'm pleased to turn the mic over to Ted Schmidt.
Thanks, Anthony. Go ahead and go to the next slide. Thank you. Just a little background. AI2 was founded, I think it's 12 years ago now, 13 years ago now, to focus the development of AI, which obviously in the last 5 years and even in the last 2 years or 6 months has made leaps and bounds from where it was 10, 12 years ago. But really the vision of Paul Allen, the philanthropist who created AI2 and a lot of other philanthropic work focused on the environment, specifically ocean health was a huge focus of his. And AI2 was really founded, the Allen Institute for Artificial Intelligence, AI2 was founded to make sure that AI technology did get focus on the kinds of issues and concerns that the audience here today has. So go ahead to the next slide. Yeah, and so we have a portfolio of programs, the latest of which is Almo Earth, which is very focused on AI. I'm going to talk more about that. But Anthony mentioned Earth Ranger and Skylight. We also have a couple of other programs. We have a climate modeling program, which I'm not involved in, but they're doing great work on trying to use AI to improve the modeling of precipitation in particular, which is way behind modeling of temperature change. ASTA is very much on the LLM side of things, focused on science questions. Some of the stuff that Nikki was talking about, I'm not familiar with the one that you mentioned, Nikki, but the ASTA team focuses a lot on that. And then Earth Ranger and Skylight very much focused on marine protected areas. We have worked with Canada, with the Department of Fisheries and Oceans on quite a few things. And also just around the world, Earth Ranger and Skylight, both in 70 plus countries and many sites. We really focus on delivery to lower capacity places. So, and making this AI technology, satellite data, and other sorts of data available to places that otherwise wouldn't be able to get it because they couldn't afford it or just wouldn't be in the market. So all of our offerings are open source, openly available. You can look in the hood and see what's happening if you can understand the technology. And they're all available at no cost to everyone who's mission aligned, which is basically, improving environmental outcomes. And then, as I said, 10 years and really global reach. And I think this is one of the huge things I would mention, particularly with AI, is the ability to scale solutions, to do things faster. Nikki's example was a really good one. I think people are concerned or afraid they're going to get replaced by there will undoubtedly, particularly for programmers, probably be some of that. But I think folks like yourselves, where you're the domain experts, you're asking the questions, you have to prompt correctly, and you have to be able to catch those hallucinations and query and make sure that the AI is giving you valid responses. It's like having 100 or 1,000 interns or assistants that are there to do all of the busy work that we all have to do all the time. You still have to do the thinking. And so I think that's how I think of it. And then putting a lot of guardrails around. Let's go ahead to the next slide. I'm probably getting into some of my slides ahead here a bit. So I think you probably would all agree, and I think even looking at the Building Bridges website and materials, I think this is exactly mentioned, and it's what we see is, as scientists, we'd all like to have more data always, but we actually have more data than we've ever had, and it's just increasing. Sensors are getting less expensive. There are more satellites going up all the time with new kinds of sensors. In situ sensing is getting cheaper and faster and better. And so it's a great thing to have all of this data, but it's also a problem because you would just get overwhelmed in this sea of data that we just don't have the time and wherewithal to process it. This is where AI really has a promise to just have that army of assistants that can help us get through all of this data and to allow us to focus on our expertise and be, ecologists and scientists 80 or 90% of the time, and data wrangling 10% or 5% of the time, instead of the other way around, which is what I often hear from folks. So let's go ahead to the next slide. So what we've seen is that training, and Nikki said this, you're all very new, or Nikki's folks are very new. We hold a special place and we feel a big responsibility for a couple of reasons. One, we have really world-class AI talent at our disposal. And I say, and this is one of the things people ask me, what encourages you about our ability to get tractable solutions around ocean and environmental issues? We attract really world-class AI researchers who don't want to build the next widget or improve the next click outcomes or whatever it is. They want to have a positive impact in the world, and we're able to attract that talent. What we don't have, and we're very thin on, and it's not our thing, is those domain experts, all the stuff that many of you bring to the table. And what we want to do is bring those bring the AI capabilities to a place where it's accessible to you without you having to become AI and ML experts. It's expensive to build and create infrastructure. It's also hard to fund it, by the way, unless you're a government. And I think Canada has led the way in funding some infrastructure, and that's very important. We're trying to fill some gaps there. And also the technology, the AI technology, is evolving in a way that means you don't have to build these bespoke solutions with bespoke data sets. You can really build platforms that will be addressable to many domains, but you have to give those experts the tools to tune and access that infrastructure. And then we see on the right a whole list of areas of application. Obviously, for this audience, the maritime space is very important. And I think particularly in the maritime space, it can't all be remote sense. In fact, it often can't. Remote sense stuff doesn't get you very far. You have to be able to bring in other types of sense data. So next slide. And I just wanted to touch here. I think we have a philosophy, and I've sort of been saying that, is that we're good at building platforms, but we can't succeed without the collaboration of not just the scientists and those folks who use our tools, but of other people in the technology ecosystem. I spend huge amounts of time talking to folks at Google and Esri and all sorts of folks, Microsoft, and as well as a lot of smaller technology providers to create these ecosystems. So Earth Ranger, we're now working with the SMART Consortium, with Skylight and Global Fishing Watch are working closely together. In fact, the Canada DFO funds in part a collaborative of 5 NGOs that build and deliver technology in this space called the Joint Analytical Cell, the JAC. That's about building that collaboration, recognizing what we all do best, and that together we can get further, faster. And with AI advancing so rapidly, I think that's even more important. And obviously, the very concept of what we're here today is about building community. I think this whole building bridges community is fantastic. And I think together we can drive innovation and really deliver on the promise of AI that is yet to be realized. But I think efforts like this one are a huge step into making that happen. Next slide. I think I won't go through this again, but other than just to say, and this is from our view, from AI2's view, is we want to help these ecosystems that are around a use case or a set of use cases. We want to give the experts access to machine learning and AI technology without them having to become experts. To do the things like make sure it's vetted properly. The previous speaker, also Dr. Benabo, mentioned a couple of very important things about being confident with the results and peeking under. That's also why we do everything open. All our code gets published, our models, our weightings, everything gets published so that people can look under the covers and see what we're doing. And then delivery, we're all about delivery of impact, not just building, writing papers and publishing AI research, but also delivering that research to where it can do the most good. Next slide. I'm going very fast because I know things are already a bit behind. I mentioned that there's this tendency we all have to build bespoke solutions, and there's a technology. If you've been playing around in the Earth observation space and AI Earth observation, you will probably have heard about foundation models. It's kind of the buzz in this space, and it's this idea of abstracting away concepts and basically getting a huge amount of the work that you can then provide tuning around to build the last bit to bespoke something. I should have a good ocean example. I use one of that everyone will get, but think of you build an AI model to detect. You want to build a model to detect a cheetah or a house cat or a lion or a jaguar. You could, and in fact you do. You build a model to detect a feline, and then you provide the tooling so that the cheetah scientists can go say, well, this is what a cheetah looks like. But you're not rebuilding everything from scratch. That's a bit of a trivial example, but I think it's illustrative of what foundation models enable you to do, is to take a huge amount of what's common and embody that in a model, and then provide the tooling to allow the domain experts on a specific use case to go in and tune that model with specific examples that will tune out, that will hone in on their specific use case and what they need. Huge amount of savings in that, huge amount of simplifying, but also hard to realize. So, but there are a number of groups working on that. Next slide. I'm going very fast, lots of big concepts, but the slides will be there. So, really the potential, and I've got Olmo Earth there, which is our offering in the space. There are others. Google is doing Alpha Earth Foundation models, and there are others out there. Genome. These are all names that you might want to think about. Genome, for instance, is doing a seagrass map right now, and actually they're using some of Olmo Earth to do that. And it's just this whole range of possibilities that get enabled by this infrastructure. Another one relevant to I think to the folks here, mangroves. We were working with the folks at Wetlands International and the Global Mangrove Alliance, and the ecologists were talking about spending 70, 80% of their time wrangling data, and we have flipped that on its head. And so now they're spending their time being ecologists and understanding the impacts of interventions they're having with the mangroves, and being able to monitor those with the technology that we've got. So, and you can see a range of things there. The other thing, I know I want to mention that because I'm guessing there's a range of folks here. The other thing that we've learned is the folks that are doing operational management, marine protected area managers, law enforcement, coast guards, they need data at a certain time and granularity, usually working in smaller spatial and temporal timeframes. Then you have your land use planners, your conservation management folks looking at, where to place a marine protected area and things like that. They're sort of middle timeframes, larger spatial areas, longer temporal timeframes, and looking back in time. And then obviously the global policymakers, the folks looking at SDG 14. And looking at GBF targets and things like that. And from our perspective, those are different things. Those are different models, maybe different data that we have to access. So we need to understand those spatial temporal timeframes to be able to build models appropriate for those use cases. So yeah, and of course those different folks talk different languages too. So anyway, next slide. I think probably most of you have heard of embeddings. I think embeddings are a powerful way to, as it says, compress Earth observation data to make it simpler to access, to allow someone to go and click on something and say, I want to see more pixels like this. They also reduce compute time, something that I think is really important. And I wasn't here for the whole day, so I don't know if that got discussed, but these things cost money. They also take energy and have a carbon footprint. So we work really hard to try and optimize the AI that we're building. And if you try, you can get orders of magnitude improvement. So it's something to ask people, like, how well have you optimized? And not only because of the environmental footprint, but because it costs money and somebody has to pay for that, whoever that is. And you're wanting those really nicely honed queries. Well, how much is each query costing you? Or you're running a computer vision model to produce inferences to show you where. I don't know where, I was trying to think of a good ocean space example, but, say where wind farms are or ships are at sea. Those all cost money, and things like our Skylight platform, we have highly optimized the models so that the cost to produce those outputs are very low, but that's non-trivial to do that. Embeddings are an attempt to make it so that you basically run your model once and embed knowledge in it, and then you can interact with that in a way that's inexpensive, it's fast, it's flexible. It has its limitations, and I'll go on to the next slide. I'm not going to read the stuff here. You've probably read it. The other approach, which is one we're also taking, is fine-tuning. If you just can't get the performance you need out of the embeddings, and they do have their limitations, they're great for some applications and perfectly sufficient. For other ones, you need to fine tune. And I'll tell you, I can't give you a hard and fast rule about, well, when it's like this, you use these. When it's like this, you use these. We're all still very much in that learning phase. And it's not just the users, it's all of us that are involved in building AI. It is moving so fast. We're learning as we go. We believe and have demonstrated that fine tuning is a necessary approach for some use cases. And so we're going to learn a lot more about these things. By the way, this embedding and fine tuning, this is on Earth observation data, not on LLM stuff. And I sort of skimmed right over that, but I think that's really important. When people throw around the term AI right now, they often are thinking Chat GPT because that's getting all the headlines. And yes, and it's massively useful. But there's computer vision, which is a form of AI. There's also deep learning. So we're doing things, take an ocean example. We are detecting fishing vessels, and whether they're longlining or purse-seining or trawling or squid jigging by their movement patterns. And those are AI algorithms doing that. So there's many different types of AI, and bringing all of those together is really sort of where we ultimately want to get. And there are some experiments happening with that. But don't just think that AI is querying an LLM. It's not. It's many of these things. And the fine-tuning and embedding is really about remote sense data. I'm showing satellite imagery here, but it could be drone data. It could be, it could be from a plane. It could be any sorts of data. Again, depending on the resolution that you need to do it. And also, there's a cost involved. If I can do stuff with Sentinel-2, which is European Space Agency, it's all free and open, but it's at 10 meters. If I can characterize what I need at that resolution and I can do it with free data, that's fantastic. Some use cases I may not be able to get there. Some cases I may need, drones or imagery collected from planes to get the resolution I need to do what I need to do. So those are all considerations that need to happen. Next slide. I'm not going to dwell too much on this, but I think the point I want to make here is that you'll hear people talk about models. I mentioned foundation models, computer vision models. Some of the early exercises, and that's great. It's research. They were academic research work, and they produced this whole technology around foundation models. But they were ultimately research tools, and they produced papers. People gave talks, and the research went into into ResearchGate or whatever. But they didn't get turned into application. And I think where we sit is we want to deliver impact, and so we want to take that research and embody it in a platform, in some infrastructure. And there are others doing that. We are certainly engaged with Google and what they're doing. There are other, I mentioned a few other groups, and really building an ecosystem of technology players and partners who are collaborating to, hopefully to the largest extent we can, to bring this technology to this community and make it accessible. So this is just about us building not just the AI, but the tooling around it to make it accessible to the domain experts like yourselves. Next slide. Let's go ahead and skip this. I mean, that's just some examples which you've kind of seen. So I want to mention this quickly because this is actually being used in Canada. This doesn't actually have anything to do with AI, but it's a great example. Earth Ranger, not an application we had ever thought of. Why don't you go ahead and go to the next slide? Not an application we had thought of, but actually NOAA originally came to us, and then Canadian agency as well. And they have this challenge of lobster and crab being fished with ropes and getting entanglements with right whales and other marine species, and having a neutral bit of software that could, first of all, the technology to do ropeless traps, but then the electronics and the signaling to know where those are, and the software that can orchestrate that. And so this is an application where we applied Earth Ranger in a way we had never thought of, very directly applicable to trying to address a marine outcome. Go ahead, next slide.
And Ted,
I'm almost done.
We will need to wrap up quickly, though. But yes, okay. Absolutely.
Let's move on. I want to move all the way to the next to last slide, I think it is. I'm not going to show you Skylight. You can go look, skylight.global. I talked about quite a bit. This is the slide I want right here. So I haven't mentioned so far LLMs, but, and this goes right to what Nikki was saying. We have not yet released this because we're still trying to build all those guardrails and boundaries around it, but we're about to release soon an LLM that is specifically designed to answer maritime questions, and those really related to Skylight and around maritime enforcement and MPAs. And this is just phase one. but it is basically put in an LLM front end on all of that Earth observation data that we're producing. So I will end with that, and I think the last slide just a thank you. So.
And definitely we'll stay tuned for those exciting things that are coming up your way, but that will be fairly accessible to everyone. So thank you so much, Deb, for your time. Are you going to stay around a little bit with us to answer any questions that our attendees might have through the Q&A section or the chat section? Ted?
Is there? I'm looking for a question. I haven't seen a question.
No, well, probably they'll come up in a few moments. Usually our attendees are waiting a little bit just to process things in their brain. But if you want to stay a little bit more, that's up to you. But I just wanted to check, or maybe people and attendees can actually reach out to you after the fact.
Sure, my email address is there, and I know I went over my time a little bit, so I'll
yeah. No worries. And thank you. That was very interesting, by the way, Ted Schmidt. He's the Senior Director of Conservation at the Allen Institute for Artificial Intelligence. Thank you for your time, and thank you for this great presentation today.
Thank you.
Coming up next, and to close out today's presentations, we're pleased to welcome our final speakers, Diego Padilla-Huaman and Fanny Cornejo. Unfortunately, Diego is unable to join us live today, but he kindly prepared a recorded presentation for us to share. We're also pleased to have his colleague Luis and Fanny joining us live for the presentation. Maybe a little bit of the Q&A. We'll see how much time we have left for today's event. Diego is the founder of and CEO of Equilibria, where he works at the intersection of AI, conservation, and organizational transformation. Through his work, he has led AI acceleration programs for major organizations, including UNDP, WWF, and Conservation International across Latin America. His approach focuses on combining accessible AI with practical methodologies and to help organizations increase their impact in meaningful and sustainable ways. Fanny Cornejo, a primatologist and anthropologist with over 15 years of experience in conservation across Amazonian and Andean communities. As co-founder and executive director of the Young Kawazi, she works at the intersection of science, indigenous communities, and protected area management. Her leadership has been internationally recognized, including receiving the Emerging Conservationist Award from the Indianapolis Prize and being named one of the most powerful women in Peru by Forbes. Together, they'll be sharing a practical and impactful approach to accelerating AI adoption in conservation organizations. At this point, we'll begin with the recorded presentation from Diego.
Hi, my name is Diego Padilla. I'm a biologist, organizational coach, and founder of Equilibria, a consultancy based in Lima, Peru. Together with Fanny Cornejo from Young Kawazi, we're going to share something we've been building and testing for a couple of years across Latin America. It's not a tool, it's not a platform, it's a methodology. And today we want to show you what it looks like in practice. Fanny and I come from very different angles. I work on the methodology side, using AI, designing the systems and frameworks. She works on the front lines of conservation, with communities, with species, with real ecosystems under real pressure. That combination, methodology and fieldwork, is exactly why this works. Now, most organizations are already using AI, probably yours as well, but without a system. Here's where we usually start when we talk to organizations. Most of them are already using AI. Someone on the team uses ChatGPT, for example, or Claude or Gemini or Copilot, whatever. Someone else uses a transcription tool, for example, Fireflies, README, or any other one. Maybe there's a pilot project somewhere. But look at what the data tells us. In the private sector, 78% of companies use AI, but only 5% actually scale it with real value. In NGOs and civil society, 92% use AI. Only 7% report measurable improvements in organizational capacity. and 81% use it individually with shared workflows, no system at all. And here's a number that explains all of this. 70% of barriers to scaling AI are people and processes problems, not technology. Now, the tool exists. The problem is how organizations approach them. What happens when you jump straight to the tool? Probably you are wondering, or maybe when you try to implement any AI tool in your project or in your organizations, you may ask, which is the best AI tool for me? What are the best prompts for this type of activities or tasks? We want you to leave that behind. When you run a workshop, for example, everyone gets excited. A few people start experimenting, and 3 months later, nothing has structurally changed. And the team is more exhausted than before because now they added new tools on top of existing workloads without removing anything. What happens then? Superficial adoption, no measurable change, and team exhaustion. The problem isn't the AI, the problem is the sequence. And that's the insight behind everything we're going to share today. AI doesn't transform organizations. Processes transform organizations, and AI accelerates them. We built a different approach. We call it the Impact Acceleration Method. Developed by Equilibria, field-tested across 17 programs in Latin America with NGOs, indigenous communities, government agencies, and international organizations, including, for example, UNDP, GIZ, WWF, JICA, and Conservation International. The numbers on this slide are real. Over 1,800 people trained as agents of change, acceleration rates between 40% and 100% in key organizational processes, and more than $3.5 million per year in resources mobilized by the organizations we've worked with. The core principle of the method is really simple. Map the process first, then and only then choose the tool. The method has 3 pillars. First, accessible AI. Technology that anyone in the organization can use, not just the tech team. If only one person knows how to use the tools, you haven't built capacity. You've built dependency. Agile methodologies, iterative cycles that let teams learn, adapt, and accelerate without losing strategic direction. Conservation work is complex and dynamic. The method has to match that. And the third one, the one that surprises people most, emotional sustainability. Organizational transformation generates resistance. People feel threatened, roles change, workflow shifts. If you don't manage that human dimension, that technology won't stick, no matter how powerful it is. These 3 pillars work together. You can have one without the others. Now, let us show you how this actually works on the ground. Fanny Cornejo co-founded Voici, an organization working at the intersection of science, indigenous communities, and protected area management across the Amazon and Andes of Peru. She has taken her entire organization through this methodology, mapping processes, selecting tools, managing the transition, and the results have been concrete and measurable. Fanny, it's yours.
Hello, everyone. Can someone confirm that you can hear me well? Perfect. Thank you so much. And again, thank you for the organizer for the invitation. So I guess this talk is a little bit different to what we have been discussing through the whole session. So here, what we wanted to do is to take or think about the use of AI, not only into terms of what we can do in terms of data analysis or specific actions that we have thoroughly discussed, but going a step back and thinking about what we could do actually for an organization, especially for nonprofits or organizations that are thinking about using AI throughout different processes. And we just wanted to share this experience so it can give us a lot of food for thought. And next. next, a lot of next, I think. Yes, perfect, there. So quickly, my organization, Yuncawasi, is a Peruvian nonprofit. We started as a volunteer-based organization, and probably as a lot of you, we got into the conservation field because of the passion that we had for working in the natural world, more than work coming up from a background in administration or human resources. I am mentioning this because this has been that has created as a bottleneck that AI has helped us sort out in recent years. So this organization right now, as a small, medium-sized organization, one of the main things that have been difficult for us was expanding our funding from project-based into unrestricted funding that could help finance the capacity strengthening of the organization, but also taking into consideration that the sort of data that we work with and the partners that we have on the ground are indigenous peoples, are government agencies that we work with in the territory. Next. So having said that, when we start thinking about the use of AI, when, like 4 or 5 years ago, everyone started using this, suddenly it sounded very cool. I'm sure that everyone started playing around with ChatGPT, asking it questions and being like, ooh, getting all this very cool information. So something that becomes a cool tool that could be used for facilitating information and thinking about how we are going to analyze data and creating different ways of working through our processes, but on an individual basis, actually it started becoming a liability. Because as an organization, we didn't have like a policy for the use of AI. We didn't have like guided instructions of how this could be addressed by team members. And as we all know, if we have weak prompts, we're going to have weak outputs, because the actual intelligence, of course, is us. So this actually created a situation where most team members felt that through the different tools that they were using, and people were using from, Gemini to ChatGPT to Claude to different things, that they were doing, shortening the amount of time that they were investing in getting certain tasks done. But actually, this was hidden workload that was moved into the leadership, because we were not getting good analysis, good reports, good grant writing, or good anything, because again, it was not something that has been thoroughly discussed. So actually, this created a situation where we had to put a stop into everything that we were doing, because AI actually was not saving time. It was creating a completely unfeasible situation. When this happened, next is when we decided to partner with Equilibria. When we did that, one of the first things that we did as an organization was to put a complete stop into the use of AI in a disorganized way. So what we did is we created an agent on ChatGPT. It was called the Yuncawasi intern. And then this agent helped people work with better prompts and be able to do some menial tasks, while we as an organization went through the processes of thinking, how is AI going to help us through this? So we had to put also a lot of time that we didn't think that was available at the time, but we just had to, in terms of being able to address where were these bottlenecks. So for example, with the different teams, we had to discuss what was the repetitive admin work that was being done, and that could be facilitated and being done in a more efficient way by using certain tools, as well as how the different data that was collected in the field, social data, biological data, or creating different analysis could also be used, and how this fit bigger processes. And then also in terms of the strategic planning of the organization, how by knowing that to do all of this that I'm saying, we didn't have funding. It's difficult to get funding for strengthening the capacity of an organization in terms of processes, for example, unless you have unrestricted funding available. We found ourselves in a situation where we needed to hire more people to be able to address everything that I'm saying, but we were unable to obtain more funding to pay for those people. So therefore, we couldn't fix all of these problems. So the first step that we took was to be able to map all of this, to being able to find where we were losing time, efficiency, and what things we could do by not increasing our budget and not increasing our staff, since we were not able to do that at the time, but how we can use this methodology to be able to increase our efficiency and our fundraising capacity. So after mapping these processes, next, what we were able to identify is that, well, first we were able to identify that we didn't have all the processes completely clear, in terms that these were things that were relying on the capacity and ability of a specific people rather than guidelines, protocols, policies, and processes within the organization. So we were able to find a lot of gaps. And here we're not even thinking about how AI is helping us. We were just AI forced us to be able to map all of these situations throughout the organization. And once we had mapped a lot of different processes and invested a lot of time of the team to be able to do that, we were able to identify how we could simplify these processes. And there is where we found how AI could become useful, and the different platforms of AI to be able to accelerate what we were doing and do it with more efficiency, but also taking into consideration that we needed to have a human review, like everyone has been discussing this throughout these days. A simple example, for example, when we first started thinking about AI to simplify our processes, was the designing workshops for communities. So the first idea that came to the team was that, okay, we're going to use AI to design the workshop, because that's what sounds more intuitively to do. However, once we started mapping the process, keeping in mind again that working in the conservation world comes with a lot of emotions regarding of the passion that we for everything that we do, but also the frustration to deal with everything that we do: climate change, the biodiversity crisis, the political crisis all around the globe. So we needed to balance these things out. So when doing this, we discovered that for the team, designing a workshop was the fun part, thinking about how we better engage with communities, what is the thing that we want to get from this, that was the fun part, the part that kept everyone excited about that, what they were doing. However, when we were actually doing the process mapping, we identified that, of course, analyzing all the inputs from the workshop, writing the reports, the midterm reports for the grading agencies. So getting all of this information was something that was not fun. So instead of doing then what we thought was going to be the use of AI, that was for designing workshops, we instead used it for producing the reports that were needed at the end for the different donors that we had that funded those workshops. Next. So when we started doing this, and this is just like a very quick review of everything that we have been able to do in the past few months after adopting these different tools and identifying all of the mapping these processes and identifying where we needed to accelerate things. And again, this is not about analyzing data, but about thinking how the organization should be working, thinking about the management flow, the administrative flow, thinking about connecting to donors and other things. First, we were able to write twice as many proposals for funding than before, because we were able to, first to free time for people like me to be able to focus more on fundraising, and also having all the information from the rest of the team available to be able to have that and to input this within the grant writing. Second, we started investing much less time into writing these reports. That was something tedious for a lot of the team members, and to be able to work on this in a more efficient way. And then, as an example, for the communication teams in terms of social media and in terms of different products to connect with our funding agencies and donors, we were able to increase by 50% our efficiency in terms of having all of these outputs quickly. For example, we designed a specific ChatGPT agent to help us write the copies for social media posts, or writing the structure for a newsletter that could be reviewed after a team member wrote a blog post, for example. So we had the same team that as the beginning, but we became more productive, and we were able to increase our fundraising capacity to be able to scale up our work and to scale up our impact. Next. Final thing, because I know that we are out of time, is that very quickly some ethical considerations to take into consideration when we're thinking about the use of AI. So I think it's basically what everyone has been discussing throughout this day. I just want to add here to be very transparent and clear in terms where you're dealing with sensitive data or sensitive information about partners. For example, in our case, when we're working with Indigenous peoples and doing social studies and getting this information, and also we're working with government agencies, and again, sensible information that shouldn't be available widespread and that shouldn't be used for training different AI models from the different tools that we may be using. And then again, everyone has said that, but just to remember that AI can accelerate the work, but the responsibility of everything that we are doing stays human. And as we repeat as a team thoroughly, is that the intelligence is us. AI is a tool that is supporting us in whatever we do. Next, and thank you very much. I know that there may have been no time for questions, but all our information is over here if you guys want to reach out and discuss more about how using AI into strengthening a nonprofit for scaling up our conservation impact. Thank you very much.
And thank you so much, Fanny, for your time today. Unfortunately, we won't be able to take questions directly from the attendees today. Although, if you're around, I believe they'll be more than happy to share their questions through the Q&A section or the chat box through the Zoom platform, if obviously you're around and willing to take them, Fanny. Thank you so much for your time. And now, because we know we're running a little bit behind on schedule, we're running late. Thank you all, folks, for staying up so late in the afternoon or maybe so late in the morning, wherever you are from coast to coast to coast. Thank you for staying with us and tuning in live for this launch event, so this webinar. I'd like to welcome Shayla back on the virtual stage to announce the winners of our interactive session, because I know, yes, it's the moment you've been all waiting for to know if you've won anything from the scavenger hunt. So, Shayla, back to you.
All right, fantastic. Thank you so much, Anthony. So we have a nice little wheel there here. Thank you, everyone who participated in the scavenger hunt. I'm very pleased to announce that we have 3 prizes available. So we'll get it going. Our first winner is Nikki. All right, Nikki. So you are our first winner. Our next winner is Maxence. So Maxence, you are winner number 2. And last but not least, our number 3 winner is Grant. All right, fantastic. Well, congratulations. Thank you all for participating. You are each the proud owner now of a $15 gift card to Tim Hortons. So I will be in contact with you shortly to get that to you. And thank you all again for participating. And remember, this scavenger hunt was just a sampling of what we have available through the community. So we really encourage you to visit and explore everything that we have available through there, to participate in the discussions and to participate in the AI clinics. Our clinicians and residents are there for you to help answer your AI questions. And they're a fantastic resource that I really encourage you to take advantage of.
Thank you so much, Shayla. And I know some of our attendees are already excited to spend this gift card at Tim Hortons. It's a way to fuel up your body and fuel up whether you take coffee or tea, whatever. But I think it's a great way to recognize the big work they've done on the scavenger hunt. Thank you so much for your time, Shayla, today. Et merci encore de vous avoir rejoint à nous aujourd'hui pour l'événement de lancement de la communauté de pratique sur l'IA pour les océans, Building Bridges. A big thank you to our speakers for sharing their expertise and insights, and to all of you for taking the time to be here, engage, and learn together. You folks, you were an amazing crowd today. So before we wrap up, just a quick reminder to stay connected through our upcoming community offerings, including our regular AI clinics, in our next Building Bridges learning session. We'd love to see you there. You can sign up for the upcoming Lunch and Learn session on the Building Bridges community page. And finally, we'd like to extend our thanks to our partners and funders, OSC, DFO, and Neopar, for their support in making this initiative possible. Merci encore et on se réjouit de poursuivre cette conversation, cette discussion avec vous tous et toutes. À une prochaine fois. See you next time.